happening, guys? Welcome in, one and all. Hit that like button. I'll be right with you.
God bless the United States. The kidney has a very special place in the heart. It's an incredible thing.
Say we just get right into it. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go. July 10th, 2026. I appreciate you for joining me. Tomorrow's Mom's birthday, so a little happy birthday to Mom. I know we don't have a show tomorrow, so big salute and thank you to Mom. Hope you have a wonderful birthday. Appreciate you guys joining me once again. Thank you. Hit that like button. Filter in. Welcome in, one and all. What do you say we bring in the chat? Say hi to you goofballs. What's happening, guys? Appreciate you for making this show possible. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to all the mods. What's going on, Forever Young? What's up, Gamer? What's up, Jackie? Good to see you guys. What's up, Tracy? Going on Facebook. I see you over there. Twiggy on Twitch. What's happening, guys? What's up, Jeff? What's up, Greg? Dame, what's happening, brother? Mr. Spark, what's going on? What's up, Roxanne? Good to see you. Good to see you guys. What's up, Jim? Jimmy Two Soups. The whole crew's here today, and I love it. I got about 5 or 6 different topics of discussion today for us to get through. First one, obviously, going to be the preparing or the reports that the U.S. is now preparing for what seems to be long-term strikes and the possible reinstituting of the naval blockade, as we've seen the oil price fluctuate due to the ongoing war, bombing, and missile launches that we've seen. Obviously, gas prices are going to be not far beyond that, so we're going to be speaking about that. New details have also emerged from Trump's Air Force One swap and how useless the actual Qatari jet is. So there's more on that I want to get to. Trump guts the independent bipartisan election board ahead of midterms, which help the state and federal election assistants, give them assistance in that. So it looks like the Trump administration and the Republican Party at large is making a concerted effort to do everything they possibly can to lie, cheat, and steal to get their way in the midterm elections. And again, whether that's going to be, trying to steal it outright, or if it's just trying to mitigate the damages that they know are coming and that they're going to be facing or should be facing in the midterm elections. We got a couple clips here and some information, some articles detailing the SCOTUS decision that led to Donald Trump then gutting this independent bipartisan election board. We got new video emerging from Mitch McConnell's medical episode where he was actually loaded into the ambulance, and it's raised more questions than it's given answers. A lot of people speculating and, looking at that video and saying it doesn't look like people are in too much of a rush. It seems like he was covered with the sheet with kind of only his feet sticking out. Typically not a good sign. But we'll go over the video. There was a couple CNN clips. They brought on a couple experts as well to kind of go through the video and tell everybody, what they got from it, what they're making from it. And this is as Republicans like Scott Jennings are going on basically every media source they possibly can to say that they talk to Mitch McConnell specifically, and they bring up all of these really specific and ridiculous and weird things that they talked about, which just puts up more red flags than it, answers any questions. We also have some leaked documents that are showing that Russia and China are much more closely affiliated militarily than we originally anticipated. And this is as Donald Trump just left China not that long ago, kissing Xi Jinping's ass and talking about all the promises that China made. So we'll be taking a look at what that leaked document showed. And then we got a lot coming from Ukraine. We got more ships hit. I think there was another 13 or 14 Russian tankers hit. Kaliningrad is now feeling the pain pretty mightily as far as the fuel crisis and the economy slide, we'll just say, with Russia. We got new details coming from the OMS strike a few days ago. And then obviously the fuel crisis inside of Russia in the occupied territories continues to grow as well. So we got more video from people that are frustrated, some more videos coming out from the long lines that people are sitting in. We got updates from Arthur Rahe, the military show. I think we have a Professor Gerdes video as well. So lots to get through in the second hour, the second half, covering all that stuff. But much appreciated if you guys joining us. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to the chat. Thank you to everybody in here making this possible. What's going on, Nance? I see you in there. You can't hide from me. What's up, Frisky? What's up, Frank? What's up, Lee? What's up, Donald? What's up, Carl? What's up, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. All right. What do you say we jump into a little bit of the news, a little bit of the nonsense, a little bit of the craziness as we do? If you guys could, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 25,000 subscribers before midterm elections. And again, if you join us for some of the Ukraine coverage, you'll definitely want to hit that subscribe button, as in just a few days we are undertaking our mission to head to Estonia to ultimately land in Kyiv to hand over our NAFO Help 9969 Sniffer Brigade vehicle to the 3rd Operational Battalion, the artillery platoon. So obviously with OPSEC in mind, I'll be taking you guys along for as much of the ride as humanly possible. So you're going to want to subscribe for that. You're going to want to follow on Instagram and Facebook and Threads and Blue Sky, where I'll be putting out, pictures and any updates that I possibly can. So you can head over to bostonbrian.com. That gives you all of the links to all of the social media platforms. That also takes you and gives you a link for the Blunt Politics merch shop, which you can get fantastic merch like this, resistance merch, opposition merch, human rights merch, as we call it. So I think we punch well above our weight class as far as designs on the merch shop. So just a bunch of ways in which you can help this independent channel. We don't charge for any pay, we don't charge for any content. We hide nothing behind a paywall. We don't charge for the Substack. We don't have any ad revenue coming in as far as selling you green juice or mattresses. We don't interrupt the podcast with a ton of commercials on my end, at least. We do everything we possibly can to make sure that nobody has a say or an opinion on what we can talk about and how we talk about that. And it's only with your help and persistence and supporting independent channels just like this that we're able to do that. So thank you very, very much. What do you say we get into, like I said, our first story that I want to get into, which is the ongoings in the Strait of Hormuz and with the United States and Iran. See if I can throw this on. Where is it? There you are, right there, you bugger. Yeah, bugger. So, again, this is just detailing some recent movements by the United States with their aircraft carriers, which, again, is leading people to suspect. And there's been other reports out there of Donald Trump's rhetoric and what Pete Hegseth has said and what they're reportedly planning for, which is prolonged strikes, not just these 1 or 2 night hits where they go after 100 or 200 targets, whatever it is that we've been seeing more recently. And also the reinstituting of the naval blockade. We've heard Donald Trump threaten that time and again. But this is reported by the Hormuz Letter, as we've looked at a bunch of times throughout this conflict. It says the USS Abraham Lincoln is re-entering the Gulf of Oman, just 250 kilometers from Iran's coast of Chabahar, now in Iran's missile range with no visible escort. I think there was also a couple other reports that filtered out where there were some destroyers in the area. But this goes on to say it appears that the U.S. is preparing for the reimposition of the naval blockade on Iran. And then we add that up with, again, the ongoing sentiment and rhetoric of, like I said, people like Pete Hegseth, people at the Pentagon, Donald Trump, of this prolonged war, the prolonged bombing, and not these tit-for-tat things that we've seen coming from the United States and Iran. And obviously, Iran is going to have something to say in response to those attacks. But, like I said, this is also the USS George H.W. Bush is re-entering the Gulf of Oman now inside Iran's missile range and at the shortest distance ever reported from Iran's coast of just 170 kilometers, escorted by 2 Ali Burke class destroyers. So this was the further reporting there to suggest that there were other vessels in tow. This is per today's Sentinel-2 satellite imagery. This comes just hours after the USS Abraham Lincoln, as we just talked about, re-entered the Gulf of Oman as well, with both carriers now positioned as the U.S. appears to be preparing for the imminent reimposition of the naval blockade on Iran, which will have huge impacts, again, on not only oil prices, but gas prices. And this, as we talked about on yesterday's show, comes as more and more experts are warning about what's going on with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. We're getting dangerously low. I think we're about at the lowest point since about 1983 or thereabouts as far as what we have there. I think it was just under 300 million barrels. Correct me if I'm wrong in there. I think one of the reports lately was 319. I also heard, I think it was Malcolm Nance talk about this morning that it was officially under 300. So if anybody here knows any of the more accurate accounts there, can tell me what the recent updates is. Let me know in the people in the chat as well. But just for what's going on here, this also says that Iran rejects Trump's claim that they were reaching out for a new talk. As Donald Trump continued to say on his Truth Social that Iran, they called us on their knees. They called us on their hands and knees begging for us to stop, and they definitely want a peace deal. Meanwhile, reiterating that the ceasefire is no more. It says there will be no talks until the Trump regime follows through on its commitments, per senior negotiating member Marandi. Another source close to Iran's negotiating team calls on reports claiming new talks false and unfounded. as they've consistently done. This says 56 minutes ago, major Israeli Air Force jet activity over Israel with initial reports that jets are heading east towards Iran. So again, that was the latest. Let's see if I can do a refresh here, see if there's anything else reported from that. But yeah, this is it's anybody's guess now. It seems like we're going backwards and not forwards as far as this whole situation is concerned. It seems like the ultimate raise in gas prices and oil prices is likely to come from all of this, the news that's been breaking here, all of the activity and the targets that have been hit over the last few nights. But that was the latest reported here by the Hormuz letter. I could probably see if the Clash report or anybody else has anything going on, or OSINT Defender. Let's see if there's anything here. No real updates here as far as the Strait of Hormuz is concerned. J.D. Vance apparently had a ridiculous sit-down with somebody. Let's see if OSINT Defender has anything going on. Let's see here. July 9th. So we'll go to the more recent dates. More recent post, I mean. So it says here, 3 officials from Yemen International Recognized Government have confirmed that they planned the prisoner of war exchange. See if there's anything about the Strait or Iran here. So I think that was it. The Islamic Republic of Iran has asked us to continue talks. This is the post that I was just referencing there as far as Donald Trump posted to Truth Social. Once again, every time they undertake these strikes, he always has to go in and say that, oh, we're hitting them so hard that Iran came immediately running to the table with hat in hand, asking us to please stop. This says 5 hours ago, 10 U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptors assigned to the 1st Fighter Wing at Joint Base Langley, Eustis, Virginia, arrived at RAF Fairford, United Kingdom. These aircraft deployed to Ovda Air Base, Israel, just days before the launch of Operation Epic Fury in the late February, where they played a key role in establishing air superiority during the opening phase of operations against Iran. So a lot of these movements, and again, a lot of the rhetoric coming out is what's leading people to speculate that we're planning for more prolonged bombing, more prolonged and sustained attacks, as opposed to, again, these little 24, 48-hour tit for tats, and then, 24 to 48 hours off, and then somebody says something or threatens something, and next thing you know, we're on. Seems like Donald Trump is almost committed now to undertake a full-scale war, or about as full-scale war as you can undertake without boots on the ground at this point in time. This was 18 hours ago. Commercial shipping visible transiting Strait of Hormuz over the past 24 hours continues to overwhelmingly favor the Iranian traffic separation scheme, with approximately 10 completed merchant vessels, showing you that they're more willing to go through and to listen to the Iranians and saying what corridor they should use in this transiting the Strait of Hormuz there. So that's crazy as well. Obviously showing complete control and the willingness of these people to listen to the Iranians when they threaten launching on these ships if they don't use the appropriate corridors. But just wanted to fill everybody in on kind of the latest on what was going on in and around the Strait of Hormuz with the war between the United States and Iran. The United States is now desperately trying to keep Israel out of the war, as reporting is stating. Obviously Israel does not want that to happen. They're desperate to take part in this. They definitely want, as far as Benjamin Netanyahu, to see the destruction of not only the Iranian regime, but as much as the Iranian state as humanly possible. But the United States has suggested that it would only lead to further escalation, which is kind of ridiculous at this point after just undertaking, hitting 200 plus targets in a 48-hour period. As you consistently tell people, there's no targets left to be hit. We've hit everything. We've sunk everything. No aircraft left, no missiles, no drones, no small attack boats, no nothing. Meanwhile, we have 200 targets that we could hit right now that we think that the Iranians could respond from. That would put the United States servicemen and women in that region in danger as well. But there's also more coming out from, speaking about putting people in danger, Donald Trump's little Air Force One swap that we had going on. I know we were talking about this. We speculated this on one of the last shows, too, on one of our recent shows. And it's exactly what you thought. It is exactly what you thought, what was going on. This says Trump's new Air Force One lacks core missile defense of previous model. So, again, a model that was from the ground up, from the time it was drawn into a blueprint, was designed to be Air Force One, was designed to do everything that was necessary and capable of that plane to operate as the president of the United States aircraft in the original Air Force One, not the Qatari jet. This Qatari jet, which Donald Trump had rushed at the expense of United States taxpayers to refurbish and refit to his standards, obviously didn't it didn't include all of the things necessary for him to be able to utilize that plane specifically as Air Force One. So you can see here, it says multiple officials confirm that the new Air Force One bridge jet, a retrofitted Boeing 747-8 gifted by Qatar, lacks the critical anti-missile defensive countermeasures of its predecessor, prompting a forced aircraft swap during the president's recent diplomatic trip to Turkey. So again, a blatant lie told in a whole story created surrounding this by the Trump administration and Donald Trump himself, that he sent it to RAF Mindenhall, if I'm not mistaken, so that the people at the base could take a look at it, so they could, pull out their cell phones and they could clap as Donald Trump's new fucking Qatari jet went by. Well, really what we're learning now is it's just not suitable for the president of the United States, not only for international travel, but damn not at a time where we're engaged in attacks on another nation, and that there's threats being made, to the president's life. So whoever's in charge, whoever made that, final decision, recognized that that plane didn't have the security measures, didn't have the countermeasures to keep the president safe, which is why they inevitably made that swap back to the legacy aircraft that Donald Trump's so desperate to get rid of and call old and useless. Meanwhile, it's the only one that is, allowed to be used as far as these situations are concerned, as far as it is, goes, as the Secret Service would tell you. But this says the new Air Force One jet deployed by the United States president lacks the advanced defensive countermeasures and anti-missile capabilities of the previous model. Multiple officials briefed on the matter have disclosed. So whether or not it is, your flares, your anti-missile flares, or whatever it may be, obviously the other countermeasures that the other aircraft has, this thing just has none of it. So it was rushed through its retrofit. It was done at the behest of Donald Trump, and he did everything that he wanted to do that would be necessary for him to use this plane after he's out of office, but, obviously not fit enough for the president of the United States or secure enough for the president of the United States. It says here the security vulnerability was underscored on Wednesday by an abrupt Secret Service directive that forced Donald Trump to depart Turkey aboard the older presidential aircraft, according to the New York Times. The incident has intensified scrutiny over executive demands to rapidly operationalize the donated aircraft to replace the aging legacy fleet. Not only that, but I forget who it was in the chat yesterday that brought this up, that they would rather that the media, the press gaggle, take another plane, considering, clearly that one doesn't have the correct countermeasures in place to make sure that the people on that aircraft are safe at all times, or as safe as they could possibly be at all times. So I'd have some second thoughts there if I was following Donald Trump as far as the press gaggle is concerned, going internationally on this Qatari jet, knowing that it doesn't have the appropriate countermeasures that the legacy aircraft definitely does. Just another reason why this useless aircraft and the money, the taxpayer money that went into retrofitting it, is, again, not going to go to benefit the United States in any way, and will go directly to benefit Donald Trump and Donald Trump alone. It says the safety configuration impacts not only the head of state, but the large contingent of the White House personnel, Secret Service details, and journalists, as I was just talking about. Trump reportedly pressured officials to accelerate deployment, frequently complaining that the legacy aircraft lacked the visual prestige required for the international missions. This is also because the other, 2 aircraft that he had originally put into action aren't going to be done. He found out they weren't going to be done before the end of his presidency, the end of his term. So that's another reason in which he decided to take this Qatari jet and try to transform it into what he called another beautiful Air Force One, but really it's just his own personal private aircraft that he built specifically with taxpayer money to make his own. It says, however, a prior official statement acknowledged that the team made trade-offs on specific mission sets to expedite delivery. Visual deficiencies. Former defense officials expressed surprise at the deployment of the asset to foreign summits, particularly given the proximity of Turkey to Iran, a state recently targeted by renewed U.S. military strikes. Frank Kendall, a former Air Force secretary, noted that the compressed timeline prevented the execution of standard Air Force One modifications, leaving critical security and communications infrastructure incomplete. So it's not just, the anti-missile, necessities that the plane needs. It's also communications. Like, there's a lot of aspects that are lacking that make this thing absolutely fucking useless to the American people. Really beneficial to Donald Trump, but useless to the American people, even though, again, we footed the bill for the retrofitting of this aircraft to supposedly turn it into the nation's new Air Force One. Well, just until, obviously, Donald Trump's out of office. But it says congressional Democrats formally questioned the procurement process, suggesting the aesthetic preferences were prioritized over national security requirements, which it absolutely sounds like it was. Visually, the heat-seeking missile defense systems clearly identifiable on the wings and tail of the legacy aircraft, so on the original Air Force One there that Donald Trump had to fly back on, are entirely absent from the photographs of the newly deployed Qatari model. So clearly not there. Pentagon specification for future presidential aircraft strictly mandate the use of these self-defense systems to preserve command and control continuity. Also goes on to talk about the intelligence assessment here, where the intelligence indicates that Iran has consistently targeted Trump since the January 2020 strike on Qasem Soleimani, necessitating enhanced Secret Service protection. While current intelligence suggests Tehran is aware of the severe American retaliation that assassination attempt would provoke, defense anxieties in Ankara were sufficient to trigger the emergency aircraft swap. Trump publicly contested the rationale, claiming the logistics change was intended to showcase the magnificent new aircraft to troops at U.S. military bases. So again, his not only willingness to lie to the world and the American people about what was actually taking place and the uselessness, the inefficiencies of the Qatari jet and how it was rushed into existence and how it doesn't have the proper communications, it doesn't have the proper countermeasures as far as people or anything that were to attack that aircraft. He made this whole story up. His team, Stephen Chung or Stephen Miller or whoever the fuck surrounds him, creating up these propaganda stories, decided to say that it was solely because he was so happy about the plane that he just wanted everybody to see it at the RAF base. So not only that, but the incompetency shown in actually putting this plane into practice, flying as close to Iran as he did, while he has apparently these threats on his life, as Israel continues to tell him. The Secret Service continues to listen to the people in Israel as far as their intelligence assessments and the threats from Iran against Donald Trump's life that, it's exactly what you would think from this fool. Can't even save himself, can't even protect himself. But again, there's other people on the plane, right? There's a whole contingency of people that fly with the president when he goes to things like this. So it's not just himself that he's thinking about, but the lies surrounding that just fit right in line with his willingness to lie about anything about his presidency, and even on the outskirts of his presidency as well. But this is something that he's not going to be able to get away from. Let me throw this on the screen because I don't see how this is evidence of anything other than the Trump administration and the Republicans doing everything they possibly can, again, to steal the midterm elections. To rig, to do everything they possibly can, to do anything they possibly can to get the most beneficial outcome that they possibly can in the midterm elections, right? So now this is after a SCOTUS decision that overturned a law that I believe went into effect in about 1935, which made these independent organizations independent, which meant the president could not and did not have any responsibility or rights to go in there and change or fire or replace anybody on these independent bipartisan election boards and others as well. But now they overturned that as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, which led to Donald Trump doing this, which this is from The Guardian. There's multiple reports as well out there where Trump fires the last members of the Election Commission, inciting fears of midterm chaos. And this is right in line with what they've been doing this entire time. We've seen, his rhetoric increase as far as talking about rigged elections, whether it was the California race or, again, about the 2020 election or, the amount of votes that he should have gotten in the 2024 election. All of these things he's been more willing to say in front of people. Even at the NATO summit, he was talking about this. So, you take that and you put that with the Trump administration going after voter rolls and their little fucking nuances and their little tricks that they're trying to pull with the voter rolls. So if Paul Smith ends up being on a voter roll somewhere and there's a Paul Smith that shouldn't be on there, instead of specifically singling out that specific Paul Smith, what they'll do is they'll just take all the Paul Smiths off the voter roll, and then you kind of have to fend for yourself when you show up at the poll that day and see that you're not registered to vote, and it's kind of on you. And a lot of people, again, if you're on the day of voting, it's not going to be able to be corrected in time for you to cast that vote. So they're playing all these games that they have, threatening ICE and DHS against different states and handing over the voter rolls. Hey, if you do this, we'll take ICE out, or if you don't do this, we'll send ICE in. Here's another way in which that they're trying to do this. This goes on to say the Bipartisan Election Assistance Commission maintains mail voter registration forms, among other duties. So again, another specific thing that Donald Trump has gone on to attack time after time after time, the mail-in voting, way of people getting and casting their votes. So this goes on to say, Donald Trump has terminated the remaining members of the independent federal commission that assist election administration officials nationwide just a few months before midterm elections, multiple outlets reported on Thursday. The remaining 3 commissioners of the 4-member bipartisan commission were forced out on Thursday in different ways. The one Republican appointee resigned. The other 2 Democratic appointees were notified of their terminations via email from the White House Presidential Personnel Office. On behalf of the President, Donald J. Trump, I am writing to inform you that your position as a commissioner of the Elections Assistance Commission is terminated effective immediately. Thank you for your service, yada, 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 the email said. The White House did not immediately respond for request. The Election Assistance Commission serves as a, quote, national clearinghouse of information on election administration, accredits testing laboratories and certifies of voting systems, and maintains the National Mail Voter Registration Form developed by the National Voter Registration Act of 1993. According to the commission's website, the termination follows Trump and top administration officials' advocacy to change vote-by-mail requirements to investigations into the 2020 election outcome, which Trump lost to Democrat Joe Biden. So again, all stemming back to 2020, all stemming back to Hugo Chavez. There's even reports that I've heard out there where they're trying to get Maduro to say that he was involved in rigging the election somehow and, in response and giving him some preferential treatment. So they're pulling out all the stops here. They're doing everything they fucking possibly can to, again, if not win midterms outright where everybody in the world knows that they shouldn't, but trying to mitigate the damage that is seen by the ass kicking that should rightly come from everybody in this country voting against Republicans and the lies that they've been told, the lies that they've been telling, and the way that they've harmed our way of life in this country just in Donald Trump's second administration. This quote says, "It is irresponsible and dangerous that this administration remains dead set on causing chaos for our elections officials across the country," Arizona's Secretary of State Adrian Fontes said in a Thursday statement. "This move undermines the integrity of nonpartisan election administration." The 2002 law that established the commission, the Help America Vote Act, states the president can appoint replacements to the commission. It is unclear how Trump will move ahead with the commission. Let's see here. It says at the bottom. Oh, there's another one I have here from the Washington Post detailing more on this as well. See here if there was more talking about the Supreme Court and their involvement in this. Trump's actions weaken the commission, which is responsible for maintaining the federal voter registration form, which we just talked about, and certifying electronic voting equipment. Something else that they've talked about time and time again, the actual equipment that's being used. New appointees would need to be confirmed by the Republican-controlled Senate. The move is the latest in the Trump's broad effort to exert authority over the elections as he falsely claims the 2020 election was stolen from him. Trump has spent years casting doubts on elections, has pushed the limit to the use of mail ballots and voting machines. In recent months, Trump has sought to overhaul how midterm elections will be run. We've talked about that on the show before. We talked about the memo leak that went out and all of the different rules and regulations that they were trying to change, in part by directing the commission to redesign a form so that people would have to provide proof of citizenship to register to vote. This as Donald Trump is continuing to try to push his, Save America bullshit. Many of Trump's actions on elections, including his attempt to change the form, have been thwarted by courts. The White House said the president reserves the right to remove individuals that may not be totally aligned with the important task of securing America's elections and ensuring every legal vote is counted. It did not say whether he planned to name replacements and whether or not he might do so. Last month, the Supreme Court, which is what this ultimately stems from, ruled that Trump could fire Democratic members of the Federal Trade Commission in a decision that gave presidents broad powers to determine who controls federal agencies. The ruling was tempered by a separate decision that came the same day that prevented Trump from dismissing a member of the Federal Reserve Board. His latest actions could prompt new litigation to determine the extent of the president's authority. Trump on Thursday fired 2 Democratic members, as we talked about, Thomas Hicks and Benjamin Hovland, and they accepted the resignation of the Republican member, Christy McCormick. The other Republican member, Donald Palmer, resigned this spring. Despite the firings, the commission staff can certify voting equipment, disperse funds, and maintain voter registration forms, according to the Institute of Responsive Government, a nonprofit group aimed at making government more more accessible. The staff cannot establish new policies or guidelines without the commissioners, the group said. So who is going to be the replacements? Who Donald Trump is going to try to fit these roles now and try to get, approved by his Republican-controlled Senate remains to be seen. I'm sure people are going to be on top of this reporting, but, a lot of reports and speculation. And this says, things like this have been going on. This is published by the Democracy Center. It says 5 ways the Trump administration is targeting state voter rolls as well. It says today, the attack on voter rolls takes 5 main forms. 1, the Justice Department has demanded that at least 48 states hand over their voter rolls, including sensitive information such as partial Social Security numbers. It has not explained how the information would be used or protected. Despite repeated inquiries from the states, the department has escalated the situation by suing at least 29 states, the District of Columbia, and 2 counties in an effort to force them to provide this data. So you can see how desperate they are to try to get their hands on these voter rolls. We've talked about rules changes, obviously the Supreme Court and how they've been a part of this as well. Number 2, it says the Department of Homeland Security has significantly expanded a searchable national citizenship database known as SAVE, but without transparency. It was originally designed to check for benefits eligibility, but now the program is being touted by the administration as a way to help root out supposed non-citizens on state voter rolls. State election officials have expressed concerns that the program may be inaccurate and unreliable and puts the security of private data at risk. The administration has dodged questions about how the federal government will use its data it acquires from states, and is demanding the state allow DHS to use the information for a broad array of purposes, including criminal prosecutions and immigration enforcement. So multiple reasons in which they want to get their hands on this different data, on their hands on these different pieces of information. Goes on to say here, number 3, the Trump administration is pursuing criminal investigations into voter roll accuracy in past elections, rooted in the president's recycled, disproven claims. These include the idea that former President Obama led a treasonous conspiracy that allowed millions of illegitimate ballots to be cast and undermined in Trump's 2016 win, and false allegations that China used fake mail ballots to swing the 2020 election against Trump. State and local allies are following suit, starting their own investigations. Trump has also announced that he intends to prosecute individuals involved in administering the 2020 election. Trump is taking executive action targeting election administration, attempting to seize power from Congress and the states. His first order aims to undermine trust in voter rolls by imposing new, heightened documentary proof of citizenship requirements on voters to confirm or complete their registration. Trump says he plans to issue another executive order to end mail-in voting and require voter ID. His political allies want additional orders on machine certifications, audits, and control over who goes on voter rolls and how those lists are maintained. And again, this is from published March 5th, 2026. I should have told you that to begin with, but yeah. So this isn't something that we're just coming out with or finding out now. This says mass challenges to voter rolls from third party persist, burdening election offices, motivated by baseless election conspiracy theories. Anti-democracy groups are instructing individuals to challenge registered voting eligibility. Third party fringe organizations are developing and promoting error-prone technology in this effort, resulting in the harassment and removal of eligible voters. Efforts to make these challenges are likely to increase in the coming months. Taken together, these tactics all reveal the same goals. Attacks on voter rolls are an attempt to limit who gets the vote, to create doubt about election security, and to make it harder for election officials to do their jobs, and to form a pretext to claim that there was fraud and interfere with the election results they don't like. As voting begins in the 2026 midterm elections, there will be more outlandish claims in voter rolls, including from federal officials. Those attacking voter rolls will claim they are presenting new findings. They will say federal government is acting in a normal capacity to investigate those findings and clear up the voter rolls. They will say this is all part of keeping the election secure. The opposite is true. The attack on voter rolls is not new. It is not normal. It goes on to say that there are threats. The threats are severe. States are pushing back on these efforts. State and local officials continue to protect elections and voter data by refusing these unlawful requests and suing the Trump administration to block its demands and the illegal federal overreach coming from executive actions, investigations rooted in conspiracy. So again, this is not something new. We've talked about this for months and months now at their attempts, and now they're enacting of these plans to try to do everything they possibly can to either lie, cheat, steal, rig the upcoming midterm elections and elections going forward from there as well, not just the midterms. I mean, you can see that these devious individuals will use this information, use these data sets, use the laws and the rules and the privileges that they've been given to have some impact on who gets to vote, how difficult it is to vote, We've seen time and time again the laws that they've tried to enact, which would rightly make it either more expensive or charge people to vote, or would make it just, increasingly more difficult for the people to cast their vote, which is exactly what they want. The less votes that are cast, the better off it is for the Republicans. The more people that vote in this country, the worse off it is for the Republicans, and they damn well know that, which is why they've gone on to gerrymander these states to hell. They've gone on to, again, try to enact all these laws and executive orders behind the scenes, and they continue to try to pressure states to hand over voter rolls so they can use that information nefariously and, again, their benefit in their attempts to try to steal the midterm election. So we better go into this with our eyes open. We better not be surprised when more of this persists, and we have to make sure that we stay on top of all of these different maneuvers and things that the Trump administration and Republicans in general are trying to enact to try to, again, get the most beneficial outcome out of the midterm elections, where we definitely know, based upon all of the polling, that they are and should going to get their asses kicked. Okay. But speaking of getting your asses kicked, there's a good segue. More information is coming out from Mitch McConnell's emergency visit there when the ambulance actually took him out of his home and allegedly put him in the back of the ambulance. There's footage coming out from that. And CNN had a couple experts on to ask them what they thought about this footage, what kind of questions it raised, if it answered any questions, what the speculation might be. So I just want to play, and I don't know if I should play the footage of it first, or we'll go into this real quick. We'll go into this real quick, and then we'll get into the statements by some of the Republicans like John Thune, people like Scott Jennings, trying to get everybody to believe that they just spoke to Mitch McConnell, and he sounds fantastic. He was up to speed on Ukraine. He was talking about, what the sports teams were doing, and it's like, I don't know. You seem to be doing a little too much here. A lot of red flags going up with all these, like, really specific things that you talked about. I'm having a hard time believing that, based upon what we've seen from Mitch McConnell, even before this whole fucking saga even started. I mean, the guy was glitching out. You couldn't hear him. He was mumbling, didn't know where he was, what he was to begin with. Now, all of a sudden, Scott Jennings wants us to believe he was up in the morning in the hospital bed texting and calling Scott Jennings and talking about Ukraine and fucking, what the vice president means to the United States. Like, back it down. So fucking back it down, Scott. So we'll get into his comments in just a second. But here's CNN, and I think they obviously have the footage attached to this segment here, where they're trying to speculate, and they're talking about this new footage coming out from the moment, allegedly, that Mitch McConnell was taking out of his house and put into the ambulance. And what I want you guys to notice is the lack of urgency with the medical professionals that are there. Okay, it doesn't seem to be like when you send in the advanced life support ambulance, somebody's having a cardiac emergency, like when you're coming out covered in a sheet with just your feet showing and people are walking like the people in this video are walking, doesn't necessarily bode well for that person that had the emergency. I'm just going to say. Typically, if there's a possibility of saving that person and the necessity of getting that person to the hospital as fast as humanly possible, you don't have people moving like people are moving in this. But like I said, this is the CNN clip, says what ER doctors learned from Mitch McConnell ambulance video. Let's see if we can get into this.
CNN obtained video of emergency responders taking Senator Mitch McConnell to an ambulance. The neighbor who shot the video told CNN the Capitol Police blocked the street, and other neighbors reported seeing McConnell's face. This was a month ago, and it comes nearly a month after a spokesperson for McConnell first reported that the senator has been hospitalized, but few other details have been released. Let's get to Andy Greer, who helped break this story. So talk to us about this video and how it fills in the pieces of the puzzle.
So, John, what I heard from a neighbor of McConnell's around 8:30 in the morning on June 14th, this neighbor opened their door to...
So again, as they're playing the video next to her as B-roll, I want you to pay attention to the way people are moving in the video, okay? Are they sprinting around? Is it urgent? Are they doing everything they possibly can to do their action as fast as possible to make sure that this guy, whoever it may be, speculated here as to be Mitch McConnell, as somebody said that they saw his face directly here, but, are they trying to get this person to the hospital as quickly as possible? I just watch the video on the B-roll next to her.
Motion on the street. They saw two ambulances, a fire truck, and Capitol Police had blocked off the entire road. So this neighbor stayed on the street to try and figure out what was going on. And about half an hour later...
Zero sense of urgency from anybody here. Zero sense of urgency. And again, I don't need anybody to be like Usain Bolt sprinting around, but you would think they would be more like, okay, let's get everything set up, get them in there, get them off before we start communicating, chit-chatting, and talking about what the fuck just happened type of thing. You know what I mean? But I'm not getting that sense of urgency from anybody. And this was a month ago. And this is as Scott Jennings, I think, 2 days ago, said that Mitch McConnell called him. Okay, so check out the video here and tell me what you guys think.
9 o'clock in the morning, this neighbor saw a person from McConnell's home being
watch him
carried
get in
on
there.
a stretcher
does this person,
into an ambulance, and said that they saw this person was.
And God bless all, first responders and emergency people, definitely. But this looks like, just judging based off his body movements, his body language, how quickly he's not moving, like this doesn't show urgency. Like this doesn't show somebody that is in need of life-saving support anymore, any longer, or a rush to the hospital. Like maybe the outcome has already been determined, let's just say, at this point. That's kind of what I'm getting. Let me know in the chat what you guys thinking. As I said, we can have this conversation, we can have this discussion, but that's my opinion of this video. It just seems like a very nonchalant, the guy's already gone type of thing. What can we do now? And let's just get him set up and out of here as humanely as possible. But again, I could be wrong.
Wrapped in a blanket, and that their feet was exposed. And then another neighbor standing next to them identified McConnell's face and saw that McConnell wasn't wearing an oxygen mask. So the firsthand.
So again, that's kind of like, I don't want to say counterintuitive, but it's kind of like on both sides of the scale there. So how can the person be wrapped up in the sheet, like his face covered in the sheet, and also somebody recognized, unless it was done afterwards, which I guess is plausible as well. But as you heard there, people around the area, recognizing that the body came out, or the thing came out with the sheet over it and the feet sticking out, and then somebody else recognized either prior to that or after that it was Mitch McConnell's face based on their opinion.
A witness that I spoke to said that they tried to ask Capitol Police what was going on, and all they were told was it was a medical emergency. They wouldn't confirm who it was for. And these new details come as we know very little about Senator McConnell's condition, why he was brought to the hospital on June 14th, and why he remains there.
Joining us right now is emergency physician Dean.
So how about we do this before this is an emergency physician. She goes in to talk about what she thinks about this video clip and, the questions that it raises for her. But before we do this, why don't we jump into a couple of the Republicans' statements recently about them speaking to McConnell, and then we'll go back into, again, what the medical professional kind of deems or what she gleans from that video coming out of there. This is, again, Senator John Methune, the majority leader, and then after this is going to be Scott Jennings and him and his really overly descriptive conversation that he had with Mitch McConnell, allegedly. Listen for yourself. And again, tell me what you think. Are they trying to make this, are they propagandizing for Mitch McConnell to make it seem like he's well or alive at all so that they don't have to deal with Thomas Massey as far as Kentucky is concerned? I don't know. Speculation is floating out there. There's been no real answers given. And, even people on the Republican side, Laura Loomer and others, demanding some proof of life. And it just so happens that when they do that, Scott Jennings gets this phone call out of the blue from his mentor, Mitch McConnell, from the hospital bed, talking about the vice presidency and Ukraine and all of these other stupid things that you'll hear. But let me know in the chat what you guys think once again.
Senator McConnell, we're told, was hospitalized. Have you heard any word on him?
I have. I spoke to him yesterday, and he was in good spirits. I mean, he was paying.
So this was the 16th of June. Okay, so this is, you can see in the top corner, it's covered by the Venmo. My apologies, but it says Fox News, June 16th, and then it'll be even more recently Scott Jennings' recent statements here.
Paying attention to what's going on, and indicated that he would be back soon.
That was the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, just days after Senator Mitch McConnell was admitted to the hospital. It has now been 3 weeks since McConnell was admitted. We still don't know why he's there. Today, spokespeople for both Leader Thune and the GOP whip, John Barrasso, said the senators recently spoke to McConnell about a variety of topics. McConnell's office says he's recovering, but they've not provided.
Let's skip ahead just a second here where they bring on the moron known as Scott Jennings, and they ask his opinion on what's going on. And he gives this really, like I said, overly descriptive view of the conversation that he definitely didn't have with Mitch McConnell. Let's see what he has to say. Yeah, nice fucking. Look at Alpha Jennings trying to grow his beard out. Boy, oh boy, the most punchable face on TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Say.
Yeah, he called me this morning before I did my radio show. We talked for about 17 minutes. He talked a lot about the situation.
Talk for how descriptive do you have to be? You know what I mean? And that's just the first red flag that goes up. We talked to 17.37 minutes. Like, fucking what? Like, who times or recognizes how the exact minute amount that you were on the phone? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's necessarily what like CNN or people are going to ask you. You have to like remember as far as this is concerned. Yeah, we talked for 17 minutes. It was 17, definitely 17, not 16, not 18. It was 17 minutes, 17.37 as a matter of fact. And then he continues to get just like more ridiculously descriptive with this fake phone call
with Iran. Talk a little bit about Ukraine and what's going on.
We talked about Iran and Ukraine and all these really, pressing geopolitical issues that he was obviously keeping up on.
In Europe. I told him I'd been to the Teddy Roosevelt Library. We talked a little bit about the history of the vice presidency and how Roosevelt had transformed that in the modern presidency, a little history of the Senate.
I need a red flag emoji, like a red flag graphic that goes up every time one of these fucking bastards just says something ridiculous like this, like just goes right over his face with a big red flag. Like 17 minutes. We talked about everything. We talked about Iran. We talked about Ukraine. We talked about Turkey. We talked about Cuba. We talked about Greenland. We talked about Trump. We talked about, it's like, shut the fuck up. Like, Jesus Christ. I know you're trying to sell this to the people. I know that you're like, hugely supportive and friendly with Mitch McConnell, but we're getting video here where the only thing sticking out of the sheet was his feet, buddy. You know what I mean? So typically people aren't dialing the phone with their feet or making phone calls with their feet. And typically the emergency workers aren't going to cover up somebody's face if they're still breathing. So what's not adding up here? What's going on?
It was a wide-ranging conversation. I talked to him often. I hadn't talked to him since he'd been in. I'd gotten a few text messages from him, but I hadn't spoken to him. So it was good to hear his voice. Voice sounded strong and sounded like he was keeping up with the news to me.
Sounded great. Sounded like shit. Couldn't barely hear what the guy was saying before this whole medical episode apparently took place. The guy looked like, a bruised grape walking around Congress, needed to be literally airlifted to his fucking vehicle at the end of the day. He glitched and paused more than a fucking, a CD that's been all scratched up. You know what I mean? But now, all of a sudden, he sounds great. He's healthy again. He had a heart attack, had the advanced life support go. He's been in hospital for weeks. Nobody's heard from the guy. And now all of a sudden when he emerges, he's going to be fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, apparently. Like, come on. But again, that's Scott Jennings. He goes even further, too.
How he was feeling?
Yeah, he said he was feeling okay. Obviously well enough to call me on the phone and obviously well enough to talk to Barrasso and Thune. Now, look, I'm not qualified to discuss any medical issues or give you any information about that.
And also the same guy that spent limitless hours going after Joe Biden for his, for his age and apparent cognitive decline. Somebody that went after, I can't remember who it was. It was actually brought up on this show, but another one of the Biden administrators that had to take administrative leave or a medical leave. And, Scott Jennings had ample things to say about that. But now all of a sudden, when it's Mitch McConnell, we got to back off. Nobody demand answers upon this. It just seems like really fishy what Kentucky's doing and trying to hide what's going on to Mitch McConnell so they don't have to deal with Thomas Massey, who has apparently been a big thorn in the side of Donald Trump. But this is, again, we'll go back to the CNN video where they bring on this medical professional to discuss this video and what she gains from it. And, if she thinks things are lining up. So let's see what she has to say. I'll speed it up just a touch. Maybe we can get through this a little quicker. All right, let's see what we got here. This is, again, CNN talking about that clip of Mitch McConnell allegedly getting fed into the ambulance with the sheet over his face here.
School of Public Health, Dr. Megan Ranney. It's great to see you, Dr. Ranney. Clearly, Mitch McConnell is not your patient. So having said that, the neighbor sees that he's taken out on a stretcher. There's EMS audio of emergency responders being called to the home for an unconscious person for cardiac arrest. Someone is heard saying CPR in progress. How serious is this case if this comes into your hospital?
It's difficult to reconcile the video that you've just shown with the story that we'd heard earlier about there being CPR in progress. So let's start from the beginning. You get a call to EMS about someone being unconscious. We send an ambulance crew out to assess. The causes of unconsciousness are myriad, ranging from seizures, which I and others have speculated that Senator McConnell may be having based off of those episodes where he freezes on camera. Could be that. It could be that he fell and hit his head. It could be a cardiac arrest with your heart stopping. So you get the call, the ambulance, the EMS specialists go. When they arrive at the house, they assess the patient. They say, do they have a pulse? Are they breathing? Are they talking? That's the point.
I just keep going back to that clip of the ambulance worker there just standing in the back. You know what I mean? Just him getting in the back and just casually open the drawer.
Are they
Opening the little drawer that he's got there, going in, getting whatever he needs. You know what I mean?
talking?
Just no
That's
sense
the
of
point. It
urgency.
sounds
And
like
again,
we're
that's no shot at the emergency worker whatsoever. I mean, it's more, representative of whatever situation was happening at that time. And it doesn't look like it bodes well for whoever that victim was, whoever the person was. Again, reportedly, allegedly, Mitch McConnell, as seen by multiple people on the scene there, with only his feet sticking out, kind of fits in line with the way that the people are moving. That's, you know what I mean?
Someone reported that CPR was in progress. Now, that CPR could have been initiated by the ambulance folks, by the paramedics or medics, or it could have been initiated by someone in the house. And for viewers, knowing CPR is great, but just because you initiate CPR as an untrained professional doesn't mean someone had a heart attack. Okay, that's as much as we've known up until now, is that there was CPR in progress and the ambulance did respond. Now you have this video. The thing that struck me about the video, Kate, is that nobody seems to be in a rush.
Right.
If there really had been CPR in progress, if Senator McConnell had truly been in a cardiac arrest, you would expect that they would be rushing, not taking their time, loading the patient into the ambulance. So that's a big additional piece of information that I think we got today. Beyond that, it is largely speculative, and I think we're all wishing Senator McConnell the best.
Absolutely. And as you're kind of noting,
speak for yourself, lady. How about that? I don't go speaking. I appreciate your professional opinion on this matter, but don't go speaking for me and what I want for Mitch McConnell. Okay, I can tell you that much. I don't subscribe to the sentiments you just espoused. Let's just say, if I do say it the least. But yeah, this is, again, CNN having a medical professional on to speculate, about that video and kind of gathering what everybody else would gather, I assume, without having the opportunity to see the entirety of the chat go by as that video was playing. But it doesn't seem like it's a huge fucking emergency, right? It doesn't seem like people are rushing around to get, a sitting senator to the hospital after having a cardiac episode, or, again, the need for the advanced life support, and obviously the calls that went out about the CPR that was being performed. And then you add that up with John Thune and Barrasso and what Scott Jennings had to say, and it all seems it seems really fishy, right? A lot of red flags, as we continue to say, which is, again, further leaning me to the necessity of a red flag graphic somehow to be established within this show. But yeah, that's just a little bit of the new reporting coming out from that video surrounding Mitch McConnell's apparent and alleged removal from his house, after his medical emergency earlier last month. Let me just touch on this. This is kind of a left field, but this is something that I think confirms what we knew, what we had kind of suspected from the jump, and what has been reported, frankly. You know what I mean? And this is after Donald Trump just left not that long ago, China, after kissing Xi Jinping's ass and coming back and promoting how much they want to work together in their relations and how much that Xi Jinping promised to do and all this bullshit. Well, new leaked reports and documents coming out are reportedly showing that China and Russia have been and continue to be cooperating much more closely militarily than China publicly admits, or we're having Donald Trump believe, or that Donald Trump would have the rest of the world believe. Right? We continue to talk about this as far as their helpfulness in, with Iran, targeting different U.S. bases and specifically aircraft and other things on those U.S. bases. We've talked endlessly about China and Russia having their military cooperation and continuing their fight against Ukraine as well. But Donald Trump, the president of the United States, went hat in hand to China to, again, suck off the president, Xi Jinping, and say that he was just the best thing to happen since sliced bread, basically, and all of these things that they promised were fantastic. And, of course, he's not helping Iran. And, of course, he's not helping Vladimir Putin, yada, yada, yada. Well, bullshit, because there are several. It says here that they were, let me see here. It says, my apologies, they're discussing joint weapons projects, training Russian drone operators in China, sharing battlefield lessons from Ukraine, and developing ways to counter Starlink, including jamming, cyber attacks, and potentially attacking satellites, which, again, we've seen a big rush for and a need for in Russia as the access to Starlink was removed from their capabilities as well. But, I mean, to have Russian drone teams operating in China and be training in China, like, you'd think that would be addressed by the president of the United States in their international meeting that they had. No, not brought up. not talked about? Oh, that's weird. That's strange. Thought that would be talked about. They're also working on advanced air missile defense systems aimed at U.S.-style hypersonic and ballistic missiles, which you'd think would be fucking hugely important for the United States president to bring up at a time where he had just said that the Ukrainians were going to be afforded the licensing rights to producing the Patriot missiles, and as the Russians have been increasing their ballistic missile attacks on Kyiv and in other areas in Ukraine as well. So you'd think that would be a huge point of contention. You think that would be a huge area of concern and something that the United States administration would be demanding, would at least be bringing up in front of cameras, putting pressure on Xi Jinping to answer for, to change. It also says that Russia brings real combat experience from Ukraine. China brings electronics, manufacturing, and technology. And the source here is Spiegel. So again, the leaked documents confirming basically everything that we already knew, in everything that the United States administration is failing to admit, failing to address, failing to mitigate, and continue to talk about China as being like our best friend, the future as far as trade allies are concerned. And again, as they're helping Russia continuously perpetrate this war against Ukraine. And it's just ridiculous to see that this wasn't brought up. This wasn't talked about. What was talked about, what was dismissed as being an issue, what was dismissed as being necessary or dangerous. And again, these leaked documents just confirming everything that we originally expected as well, or suspected as well. And this is the picture that people are just talking about that's being displayed at the White House, right? So why do you think this is all taking place? Why do you think the lack of pressure is being put on Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin? Well, this should give you a pretty good indication as to why. As you can see here, this is a picture of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin just above Donald Trump and, I don't know, some young girl, which is, pretty apt for Donald Trump's administration as well to have as a photo on the wall. But yeah, Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin now gracing the walls of the White House, not Zelensky, right? Not Volodymyr Zelensky, an ally, somebody that we, again, forced to give up nuclear weapons, not Zelensky himself, but the country of Ukraine, forced to give up their nuclear stockpile in response and in promises to the United States coming to their defense in the action that Russia does exactly what it's been doing for the last 5 years plus. But yeah, just in case anybody's like, well, I wonder why Donald Trump's not putting pressure on Xi Jinping or China or Vladimir Putin. Well, again, this should give you a pretty good indication as to why. But that should lead us into our second half of the show today, which we're going to cover a ton about what's going on with Ukraine. We have some more ships that were hit. I think it was about 13 or 14 more tankers that were hit as far as the Russian shadow fleet by the unmanned drone systems there, Magyar's birds, Robert Brovdi in particular. We also have some information coming from Kaliningrad as they feel the pain of the fuel crisis and obviously the added pressures put onto the Russian economy. Details from the arms strike are now coming out, and then obviously the fuel crisis continues is where we're going to start here, because Artur Rehi has a pretty good update here, pretty lengthy video, about a half hour long. We're just going to dip, dodge, and dive through this. We're going to talk about a little bit of the extended videos coming out from these different Russians in different areas around the occupied territories and inside Russia themselves that are just crying and bitching and moaning and fighting each other or camping out, trying to get petrol, trying to get fuel for their vehicles when it's only the government officials, the emergency vehicles that are able to get that petrol first. So just want to start off here, and then we'll get into a little bit from this. I think PPR Global. Yeah, this PPR Global is talking about Kaliningrad, and then we got a few more videos to get into as well. So Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. Thank you guys so much for not only sticking around for the first half of the show, which we typically go over domestic issues, domestic policy. Second half of the show is typically reserved for any engagements, information, and updates coming from the war in Ukraine and obviously the broader general geopolitical conflicts that we're now seeing around the planet. So much appreciated if you guys sticking with me in the second half. All the barnacles here. Make sure you hit that like button if you haven't already. And we're just going to skip through a little bit of this. Again, Artur Rehi video. And please subscribe to the channel. Again, if you follow along with all of this Ukraine news, updates, information, you're definitely going to want to subscribe to the channel and follow along on our mission coming up now, where we're about to undertake in a few days, heading to Estonia, from Estonia traveling down through Latvia, Lithuania, and eventually making our way into Kyiv to hand over the vehicles from the 69th Sniffer Brigade. An honor and a privilege to be able to represent you guys in that mission. So again, follow us on all of the social media platforms. Make sure you subscribe subscribe here on YouTube so you guys can be first to get all of the updates, the videos, the photographs that I'll surely be taking to try to keep you guys along for the ride. Obviously, keeping OPSEC in mind, doing whatever I can to keep me and the people that we're with as safe as humanly possible along the way. So again, this is Artur Rehi, who's from Estonia. Again, hopefully I've reached out behind the scenes here to Arthur to see if he's going to be in and around the area. Would love to be able to buy him a beer, thank him for all of the work he's been consistently doing throughout this fight, throughout this war. I mean, you can tell how much he's involved just by the amount of NAFO patches behind his head. Jesus Christ, he's got a pretty extensive collection going on there. So clearly heavily involved along with Jake Bro. Speaking of Jake Bro, holy shit. Did you guys see that Jake Bro, who started his $1 million 69 Sniffer Brigade campaign, I think 5 days ago, max, is already raised over $750,000 to his $1 million goal? Like, are you shitting me? That is fucking insane. Okay, that is absolutely insane, absolutely incredible. To raise nearly $1 million in less than a week is just fucking mind blowing. Okay, it's especially coming from a content creator, right, a YouTuber at the end of the day, and that's not to put any negative connotation associated with that whatsoever. But where countries and nations and governments are not stepping up, I mean, we're able to sit here and produce in the background using our platforms, these medias. We've done 2 now 20,500 euro campaigns, which again, nothing to shake a stick at for a channel of less than 25,000 subscribers to have raised nearly 50,000 euro for this fight against Russia is incredible. But to see that Jake Bro in his $1 million campaign have raised nearly and over $750,000 in less than 4 days or around thereabouts is fucking insane. So a lot of respect to Jake and everybody else, Arthur, that's been affiliated and associated with any of these campaigns, and a huge congratulations and round of applause and W's in the chat for anybody. Whether you're just associated with Jake Bro's channel or people associated to all of these different channels and stuff, participating in those campaigns. It's really a sight to behold. So, all right, let's dive into this one. This is detailing a little bit more about the gas wars and what's been taking place. It says they call it gas wars, Russians fighting each other for gasoline all over the country. And I think he opens up here with a video from a Russian mill blogger, which is, again, showing everybody and detailing the plight that they are all under as far as trying to get petrol, trying to get fuel. So, all right, let's just, like I said, dip, dodge, and dive our way through this video. Much appreciated you guys hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel. Again, there's Venmo up in the corner. We always, at the end of every single show, take our time out to make sure we thank anybody that throws in a buck or two in the Venmo. If you think we're deserving of more than that, then absolutely not going to stand in your way. But $1 or $2 from everybody in the chat would do a substantial way in helping this channel grow. You can also utilize the chat there and give super chats, super stickers. We also make sure to thank everybody that sent in and signs up for the Patreon, all of the things that we could possibly thank and congratulate you guys for. We try to do at the end of the show every single time. So thank you guys for everybody contributing here in the chat. Thank you to Patrick, Jackie, Damon that I see so far as super chats. Very much appreciated for you guys. It's like I say, we're an independent platform. We're an independent creator. We have no, CEOs. We have no financial backers. We have no conglomerates behind us or dark money, groups. No liberal groups feeding us dark money and tens of thousands of dollars each month. We do this based on and with solely on your generosity and your contributions to this channel, with nobody out there that can tell us what we can say, what we can't say, what we can talk about. None of those things. So thank you guys for supporting independent media just like this all over the place. I know there's a ton of them that you do support, and I just want to show you the appreciation that you deserve for supporting all of us in this endeavor. So, all right, let's get into this.
My friends, look at that. This is President Zelensky and President Donald Trump together sitting down in a NATO summit in Ankara, Turkey. This happened on 7th to 8th of July, and it was no regular meeting because for the first time we saw Trump's very positive attitude towards Zelensky. Ukrainian deep strikes and mid-range strikes have done so much damage to Russia that in Trump's eyes, which is kind of a primitive view, he sees now Zelensky as winning, and he likes winners. So hence the positive attitude. And one of the snippets of their conversations, there were many good moments. I'll just show you one because this pissed off the Russians so much. We're going to look at the outrage later. But check out this moment.
President Putin said, I would love to meet in Moscow. And I said, I don't think, I have to put myself in his position. I don't know that he'd go to Moscow. Maybe he would. Would you go to Moscow?
It's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones there. That's right.
He doesn't want to be hit by a drone.
Such a perfect response. Such a fucking perfect bang-on response right there.
So Ukrainians know, Zelensky knows that their deep strike capabilities are humiliating Russia. Trump sees it. So Trump's asked, would you want to go to Moscow to meet Putin? Which Putin has, said many times, let's meet in Moscow. Zelensky says, let's meet anywhere else. And Zelensky says, I cannot go because there are Ukrainian drones there, which we saw for the attack of the Moscow refinery. Plenty of Ukrainian drones there. They're flying daily.
Iconic shot. I'm going to skip ahead because he goes into a little bit about this. Goldman, I believe, is the blogger that he's talking about in his sarcastic video that he put out there. So I just want to go into this just a little bit.
Topics. So now I bring you one of the biggest ramblers Russia ever saw. Next to Prigozhin, this is Yevgeny Golman. I'm sure you're used to the man right now already. He will be taken out of the picture in the coming years. But right now, he's alive and well and rambling about the summit. Now, it's 2 minutes. I'm going to watch the whole thing because he tends to speak the truth where others don't. Hey, good morning, guys. So we all realize that our entire leadership has talked themselves into the corner. All that Anchorage bullshit has spread everywhere, through the veins, through the air, and now it's, I think, gone. Grandpa Trump.
It says, Grandpa Trump praised Zelensky and we need to strike deeper.
Praised Zelensky, said we need to strike deeper. So yeah, that's one of the biggest changes in Trump's tonality, is that he was always very anti-Zelensky. I don't know, he may personally like it. Go deeper. And now Yevgeny Golman says, Grandpa Trump praised Zelensky, said we need to strike deeper. So guys, brace yourselves and double down. Hard times are ahead and don't effing tell me I'm a panic monger. Now suddenly everyone is talking about this and nobody's calling anyone names anymore. This lying, honestly, everyone's sick to death of it. Okay, so he rambles, he jumps from topic to topic, but you get the snippets of truth from each topic. Now we switch topic to lying from the officers to the leadership in Moscow. Now he's talking about this. Lying about Kupiansk, lying about Konstantinovka. Russian says the name of Konstantinivka. Stop lying to the president. Can someone with actual balls walk and tell the truth about
Again, this is a Russian person. This is somebody on the Russian side of things speaking about the war in pretty real terms, talking about the lies that they've been told, but he still has that aspect of trying to keep Putin out of responsibility. So he says that can the commanders stop lying to the president? Like the president doesn't actually know what's taking place. Like, he's being fed the lies without recognizing reality, which to some aspect could be true. But to not know that this war is going disastrously as far as Vladimir Putin is concerned is clearly bullshit, is clearly part of that, what friend of the show Philip Bittner calls if the Tsar only knew, you know what I mean? So that's, you can see how he's trying to keep him detached, the same way that maggots keep Donald Trump detached. Remember during the height of the Epsteins and the Epstein file crisis for the Trump administration, and they were the MAGA bloggers were so ready to put and throw people like Kash Patel and Pam Bondi under the bus and Dan Bongino under the bus while removing Donald Trump from association and accountability. As far as that's concerned, Donald Trump must do something. He's got to remove Pam Bondi. He's got to do something here. Well, he's the one perpetrating it behind the scenes. So it's that stupidity that they show in trying to remove the dear leader, the Fuhrer, from the disasters that are occurring right now. That goes to show their sycophancy, the propaganda, how that works, what it means to be under a cult, in a cult, under a dictatorship type of thing. No different than MAGA.
The F is happening in this country. See, that's the thing. It's one of the symptoms of being Russian.
And he continues here. I think about the gas. He says, my pension rubles today, 4,800 rubles came. I'm fucking sitting here thinking.
Sorry for taking the Lord's name in vain, but I'm effing sitting here thinking.
And he goes on here. Should I fill up with gas? Oh, hold on. Let me go to that last one because he's talking about the gas situation. See, my pension came, I'm thinking, then he goes on.
I'm effing sitting here thinking, should I
fill up my gas tank or just go and drink with it? You know what I mean? So he's talking about what to do with his pension, what to do with the paycheck that he just got in the mail. So he's obviously bringing up sarcastically the cost of fuel, right? So not just whether or not you can get it, but also the increase in cost that Russians are facing as far as fuel is concerned. So should he take the 4,800 rubles and go fill up his tank, or should he go drink with it? So he says a salary of 50,000 rubles in Americom. How do you boys live up north? So again, talking about the amount of money that they're getting paid and the amount that things are costing in the country. But this goes on, like I said, it's about a 2-minute video of him crying, bitching, and whining and complaining in a sarcastic form, kind of about the way of life, the status of life right now as a Russian, and the way that the military is going. But here's some more from the gas and fuel shortages here. Some more videos coming out from people in the territories that are now feeling that pinch. So I just want to, again, laugh and see if we can mock and ridicule a few more of those.
I just saw this video of a Russian woman. Video came out yesterday. The emotion is so real, I have to share it with you. The message is real. It's very dangerous. The plant is being evacuated again. What a nightmare this is. We very far from where everything happens. So she means where Ukrainian war is happening. Why are we suffering on 1,500 kilometers from Ukraine when the war is happening there? It's supposed to not touch us because that was the secret deal. And
this is a sentiment we've seen more and more and more from the Russian citizens, right? The people that are now feeling the pinch, now feeling the pressure, now understanding what it means to have the war come to their doorstep in just a minute way, too. It's not even like they're facing the worst of the worst as far as the war is concerned by any stretch of the imagination. Added difficulties to their daily life, and they can't even handle it to that extent. So she goes on here.
Stop this war immediately. Enough already. You can't imagine how much effort and labor it takes to build all this. Every day, every builder toils away at this plant. Some families don't see their own, and you bastards, what are you doing? Maybe it's time to stop doing this. Stop this immediately. Enough.
So again, she's calling on the Russian government to stop this war because of the harm that it's causing to the citizens there. Obviously, what it's doing to the fuel crisis, what it's doing to their ability to run their businesses, as it pertains to obviously the the internet crackdowns and stuff, like making it very difficult. We've seen a ton of videos as well. Let's see if there's a couple more that he's talking about here. I think he talks about this one that we brought up the other day, where they stopped the fuel tanker because it was only going to the government vehicles. Basically, the citizens were fed up; they had enough, and stopped in the way of that tanker until they could get some fuel. Let's see if there was a couple other ones here. I think there was this one as well.
The special military operation mobilized, but in gas stations, just waiting. This is hundreds of billions of money not being made because the workforce is just waiting for gasoline. That's the end, friends. I'd like to redact what I said in my own video from a couple of weeks ago about gasoline, where I said you should come to visit Moscow. That there is gasoline in Moscow. You can fill up and leave. Like he said, come to Moscow, there's gas here, yada, yada. Last week, I managed to fill up my tank by sheer luck. Now, a week later, I've been living in my car for 2 days. And
living in his car for 2 days. And I think he's even got a clip here of people that have been camping out, if I'm not mistaken, and like literally pitching tents and shit. Let me see. Yeah, look at these. Look at these people.
Waiting, and the guy's waking up. The fuel truck, Lukoil, actually arrived at the Lukoil gas station. And the guy's calling the friends, we are saved. The gasoline was delivered to us by the gods. Thank you, gods. Now we can get some of it. Has a suitcase. What's in the suitcase? This is everything necessary to camp out near a gas station. This is a thermos. There's playing cards. There's cigarettes, of course, and some other kit I don't recognize. Looks like James Bond stuff for a gas station camper. Also noticed.
So again, that's the situation in a lot of areas right now in and around Russia in the occupied territories. Literally forced to live in your vehicles, literally forced to camp out, pitch tents to try to wait until that fuel bowser arrives, until the fuel truck arrives, only to see that the government officials, the government vehicles get filled up, and then the tanker gets sent away because it's out of fuel before any of these citizens get hit as well. And there's more coming from other areas, Kaliningrad being one of them, being as separated as it is from the rest of Russia. One is likely to think that would start seeing and feeling the effects probably earlier on than most regions in Russia. This is a quick PPR video detailing some of the humiliation that Kaliningrad is facing. It says Ukraine just erased Putin's last European stronghold. And I just want to go through the first couple minutes of this video, just showing you how far widespread this has gone as far as the fuel crisis and who's feeling the pinch now. It's not just within occupied territories. It's not just within, Russian soil itself. Now it's, again, the separated territories here in Kaliningrad as well. Still, obviously, Russian territory, but not the attached, as it were.
This is Kaliningrad, and Russia's most powerful fortress in the Baltic is begging for help. The fuel crisis, paralyzing civilian and military life across Russia, has now hit Kaliningrad in full, and this strategic exclave stands on the verge of disaster. In footage shared on social media, the fuel station queues and local complaints are plain to see. The lines stretch block by block, even in this region ringed by NATO territory, and the discontent is growing. Other footage from the ground captures the moment. In small towns, tankers haven't arrived in a week and a half. Even the buses are affected, and vast queues have formed at the stations.
Look at that fucking line. Holy shit.
Between Poland and Lithuania, this pocket of 1 million people is now waging what looks like a fight for survival. And its governor found the remedy.
So again, you can see here's the, the broader territory of Russia to the right, and then you can see how separated Kaliningrad is as a Russian territory there. And basically you can see why the reasons in which geographically that they would be feeling the pinch. Typically it is the more prominent areas of Russia that get the assistance, obviously the air defenses as well. So it's much more difficult for them to help Kaliningrad than it is Moscow, St. Petersburg, Volgograd, those type of areas as well. So it goes on.
Knocking directly on Putin's door. In this strategic region, Putin spent years using to threaten the West. Putin today struggles to find fuel for his own tanks. And the fact that the administration had to petition the Kremlin for emergency fuel just to keep a population of 1 million, its farmers, its soldiers, its civilians, going lays the gravity bare on its own. Even without a formal state of emergency declared, the crisis has reached a dire level. Indeed, Regional Governor Alexei Besprozvanik met Putin at the Kremlin on July 2nd, 2026, and requested priority additional fuel shipments. Putin approved the request. But limits and queues had already brought daily life to a halt. Yet here's the real irony. Ukraine is disabling this fortress bit by bit without firing a single shot, pulling off indirectly what the West failed to do directly for decades. And in this video, we'll show you step by step how drones costing a few $1,000s are turning Putin's pride in the Baltic into a liability. But first, a small request. Independent war and technology analysis like this is increasingly throttled by the algorithm, and this video isn't reaching many of the people who'd want to see it. Subscribing, liking, and leaving.
I'll have to second that, as it pertains to my own channel. I know I continue to reiterate, and I'm sure you guys are aware that a lot of the stuff that we cover on this show is not something that the algorithm typically boosts. And without, affiliated corporations and people trying to boost the shows by themselves, it's difficult to break through. So I would really appreciate if you could try to, mitigate the effects of the algorithm by sharing this out. Liking, sharing, and subscribing are all fantastic ways to try to boost this, in the algorithm and make sure that we can fight through. It's very much appreciated, and it's very necessary, as much as a pain in the ass it is to try to, to ask everybody, and as much as of a pain in the ass it is to hear from the people doing these shows, it is very necessary. So let me just see if there was anything else, because I just wanted to detail this, the first couple minutes of that, which showed the, the problems taking place in Kaliningrad and how widespread this is, which is the overarching sentiment of these videos.
Person to beg for help. If a matter were truly trivial, governors wouldn't come knocking on the Kremlin's door. The first concrete face of this silent siege on Kaliningrad's streets appeared at the pumps. The gasoline and diesel sales limits imposed from June 25th, 2026, made the long queues and supply shortages at stations all the more visible.
Can't get over this.
So much so that, by local media, these queues even block.
That line is crazy. But let's see here if we can. We'll dive on to our next video that I want to take a look at here. This is the military show. This is talking about Ukraine wiping out the Omsk refinery. So I think there's some more details coming in from this mission that went after Russia's largest oil refinery, one of the largest oil refineries on the fucking planet right now. So again, any insights into the tactics that they were using, their ability to get through the Russian air defenses, I want to take a look at. So again, this is from the military show. This is titled Ukraine just wiped out Russia's biggest oil refinery. So let's take a look. And this is again from the attack a few days ago on the Omsk oil refinery.
Something massive just exploded in Russia. We feel like we're saying that a lot recently, which just goes to show how intense Ukraine's long-range campaign has become. But this strike was different. Russia's largest oil refinery has just been wiped out, with knock-on effects not only on the fuel crisis Russia is already dealing with, but also on many other refineries in the country. Ukraine's strike was perfect. 2,500 kilometers of travel led to a pinpoint strike that took out a refinery. And if all of that wasn't humiliating enough, Russia sent its best fighter jet into the fray, and it's achieved the sum total of nothing when trying to stop Ukraine's drones. On July 7th, Business Insider reported that Ukraine's drones had traveled thousands of kilometers to touch down on the Omsk refinery in western Siberia. Over 2,500 kilometers of airspace was covered, which is roughly the distance between Los Angeles and Houston, the outlet says. And that is 2,500 kilometers in which Russia's air defenses tried and failed to stop Ukraine. The outcome is what we have seen in so many of Ukraine's refinery strikes before. Video shared by the XLNova Plus Telegram channel reveals massive black clouds of smoke rising from the facility as air defense fire is heard in the background. We all know what smoke indicates.
Again, it's not just the distance
There's a fire
of these
at the Omsk
strikes,
refinery
but
right now.
the efficacy of these strikes. Like I said, it's not just the ability for these Russian drones to get this deep inside of Russia, but to be able to target these specific sites, and not only target the specific sites, but target, the critical areas of these sites as well. Just goes to show the increased ability of the Ukrainian drone operators. But let's just take a look at this. I know we showed this the other day, but let's go in here and I can show you just how big this refinery is. See if we can take a look here. So we're going into Omsk. Sorry, it's a little bit slow. I know I got a lot of pulled up, but look at the size. I mean, here you can see clearly the oil, the storage tanks here, but look at the size of the facility itself. I mean, this whole thing is a part of that Omsk oil refinery. All of these stations, all of this equipment, it's fucking massive. It is an absolutely massive plant. And I forget one of the facts that they were telling about the trains that operate around this. But some pretty substantial infrastructure as far as trains and transportation is concerned as well. But I mean, you can see just the vast size of this entire refinery and why it would be such a huge target for the Ukrainians as well. Not only just how much it produces, but what a big propaganda victory it is to say that you could consistently hit Russia's largest oil refinery in the distance behind enemy lines that it is. But you can see here, again, as we continue to cover, this is Omsk, Russia. And we'll just scroll out. That way you can see exactly where this is on the map in relation to Ukraine and how far away this actually is, right? And there we go. We're still scrolling out. I mean, Kyiv's way over here, guys. You know what I mean? Here's Kyiv. Here's Omsk. So, again, you can see a pretty substantial distance beyond and inside of Russia that the Ukrainians have the ability to strike there. But let me see. I'll throw this back on here. But, I just want to drill home just kind of the massive nature of these oil refineries and how much damage it's causing the overall economy and how much damage it's causing to the Russian citizens as well.
And it's all because Ukraine's drones have scored direct hits at a facility that is supposed to be so far away that Russia would never have to worry about it. That has all changed. Ukraine now has record-breaking drones on its hands. The Omsk authorities are trying to keep things quiet. The region's governor, Vitaly Kotsenko, would only confirm that Ukrainian drones had attacked the facility, though he said nothing about fires. Instead, he reported that there were no casualties, which isn't so much good news for Russia, as it's a demonstration of the precision that Ukraine's drones achieved. Kotsenko also told residents not to approach the debris of drones that had been shot out of the sky, continuing the old Russian excuse.
Again, such a true statement that he just said. Such a true statement. It's something that we've reiterated time and time again in the show. We've brought up, if you look at some of the Russian videos coming in from some of these Ukrainian strikes, you got fucking Russian citizens just kind of sitting, smoking cigarettes, got their feet up on the bridge, just watching these refineries or oil plants burning in the background because they know what the target is. They're not afraid that these Ukrainian drones are all of a sudden going to dive down on civilian infrastructure, unless, of course, they've been jammed or been spoofed by the Russians themselves. But, what he just said was really true as well, because the Russians love to put out there, oh, nobody died, nobody was hurt, nobody got injured as far as I was concerned. So it was a failed attack, when in reality, it's just showing the efficiency and how strategic these Ukrainian strikes are at just targeting the necessities, the justifiable military targets and the critical infrastructure of these oil refineries. So they think the Russians are doing themselves a favor by, saying that nobody was hurt, injured, or killed, when really it's just, giving more credit to the Ukrainians for being able to conduct this war in a humane manner, going after, again, justifiable military targets that are leading to this war effort continuing.
That it's not Ukraine's drones that do the damage to the refineries. Russia's air defenses shoot everything down, and it just so happens that the debris strikes precisely what Ukraine wants to hit. It's all a big coincidence. And in the case of the Omsk refinery, Ukraine's drone debris was even more accurate than it usually is. Rather than attacking big targets such as oil storage units, Ukraine has something very specific in mind. The ELOU AVT-11 primary oil refining unit at the Omsk refinery, which has a design capacity of over 8.4 million metric tons of crude oil annually.
And just goes to show how good their intelligence is as well. I mean, to be able to not only pinpoint and kind of pick out the different necessities that these oil refineries have. I'm sure each one of these oil refineries kind of has a different vibe to them, the way that they operate, the size, and how much they produce, how close they are in geographical positions to trains or seas or rivers or something like that. So all of these, I'm sure, have a different aspect in how you go about attacking them. But for the Ukrainians to be able to pinpoint the very important structures that they need to hit, and then go and find them and know exactly where they are inside of these massive oil refineries, and then to be able to get through the Russian air defenses and actually target those specific, elements and those specific pieces of infrastructure, just shows how good they are at this, and just shows how effective these strikes continue to be and will grow. How effective they will continue to be. You know what I mean?
Main target. Take out that refining unit, and you don't even need to make the rest of Omsk burn. It simply won't be able to operate anywhere near full capacity because one of its most vital pieces of machinery will be a flaming wreck. And that unit just so happens to be what the most accurate drone debris in the world managed to strike. We're being facetious. The reality is that Russia's air defense...
He's obviously making a joke about the fact that the Russians continuously say that, no, the Ukrainians weren't able to strike this. It was just debris from us shooting down their drones and their missiles that actually caused that damage, which, again, it can only last so long. That only goes so far as the propaganda is concerned. When you have video, confirmation of the FP1 drones and the Flamingos actually hitting their targets.
...has failed. Ukraine's drones broke through in Omsk, and the refinery has just lost the single most valuable piece of equipment in the entire facility. That's a result worth crowing about, but it's not just the specific type of unit Ukraine struck that makes this latest attack so special. There are two other reasons why Ukraine will be celebrating, and Putin's cronies will be crying about what Ukraine just did, and one of those reasons is a record breaker, but we'll get to that. First, the Omsk refinery is among the most important in all of Russia. According to the Kyiv Independent, it's the single largest refinery that Russia has in terms of pure production capacity, and it's capable of processing over...
Yes, and just in case anybody in the comments is wondering or confused or not kind of... they're using some AI generations to represent, the strikes here, and they're trying to get you to, to understand some of the tactics that were being used. So yes, that's what this is, but I think the information that's being given here is relatively and pretty accurate as it pertains to what we heard and what we know about these strikes in general. So again, we're trying to get through on some of the tactics. I'm not showing this as being like, the footage from the strikes or anything like that. But let's see here. There was another one that I wanted to throw on from, it was the professor, which was detailing a little bit more about Ukraine's good night that they have. Seems to be a reoccurring theme as far as the professor's videos are concerned. 12 more just last night talking about Russia's shadow fleet. And this is titled, again, Ukraine had another great night. So let's see what information we can go through in this Professor Gerdes video. Much appreciated for him doing the work to kind of compile all of the different reports, all of the different tweets, and all of the different people that are talking about these updates as well, so we can utilize his video and kind of kill some time here. So what do you say? This is, again, titled 12 more just last night. So I've lost count. I've lost track at how many ships over the last 96 or however many hours the Ukrainians have managed to strike, but I'm sure the professor will tell us. Let's get into it.
6. So there were 12 more oil tankers hit they're carrying gas to Crimea, but they're hit last night. 12 more on top of the 14 the night before, and the 9 before that, and I think 10 the night before that. Yeah, I'll show you what's going on.
So apparently everybody's lost count at this point. There's been so many of these Russian fuel tankers trying to make their way to Crimea that have been hit in the Sea of Azov that it seems like people are losing track at this point, which is a good sign, a good showing by the unmanned forces and Robert Magyar himself.
On here. So let's start here with overnight strikes. Approximate flight routes of our UAVs. 330 drones reportedly going out.
It's like a lot going towards Moscow. You can see here's Moscow right here. Here's the track of the drones being sent from Ukrainian territory into Russian territory. Obviously, heavily favored into the north area in and around Moscow. I'm not sure quite what they say that they hit up there. And then obviously you can see down in the bottom going towards Crimea in Kherson as well. But it says, according to Russian sources, around 330 drones were reported, though the estimates and the displayed routes remain highly approximate.
And they're jet powered drones as well as regular drones. They're going up this way, and we'll show you what's going on there. And they're going down.
I mean, just look at the sheer amount, right? I mean, this is something we've seen like progressively increase on the Ukrainian side as this war has persisted. And this is a nightly basis now. This is a nightly thing that the Russians are facing. This amount of missiles and drone activity, the ability for the Ukrainians, as we continue to say, to put up more missiles and drones on a nightly basis than the Russians are able to, which is a huge change in this war as well. But I mean, you can see a pretty consistent and concerted effort here into and around Moscow, and then down here into the south, into Crimea, Sevastopol, Rostov-on-Don, Kherson, all of these places down here really being targeted heavily by the Ukrainians overnight.
Into the Sea of Azov, and they're just devastating these tankers. Footage emerged showing the strike on the tankers on the Sea of Azov near the Kerch Strait on July 8th. One interesting detail is that the Russians reportedly scrambled several Su-34 fighter bombers in an attempt to repel the attack. Judging by the outcome, however, they completely failed their mission.
Well, that sounds to me like the first piece of evidence to suggest that the Russians are doing anything to try to respond to this. Like, I haven't seen a damn thing that they've been doing in the last, again, however many hours it's been. I think somewhere over 100 hours that the Ukrainians have been consistently attacking these ships in the Sea of Azov and in the surrounding areas. But I haven't seen, guns being installed on the ships. I haven't seen drone crews being put on these ships. I haven't seen, drone jamming systems or radar jamming, whatever it is. I haven't seen anything, any mitigatory tactics being displayed by the Russians. This seems to be the first, and it seemed to fail right off the bat. As it says, they reportedly scrambled several Su-35 fighter bombers in an attempt to repel the Ukrainian attack. And obviously, as you can see in just the still footages by the fireballs and the smoke plumes going up there, obviously didn't have too much effect. So hopefully he plays these short clips showing the Ukrainian strikes.
So, yeah, they scrambled fighters, and they still didn't shoot down these drones. Maybe they shot down some. Maybe there would have been more that day. Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian shipping across the Sea of Azov as seen from a commercial vessel. This video was published yesterday. So I get a lot of questions about what kind of, did they sink them or did they just cripple them or what? I don't know.
Oh, and more evidence. This is great. I love the fact that he just brought this up too, because it relates perfectly with what we were just talking about. Justifiable military targets, right? Humane acts of war. Going about this the way that the Ukrainians have done consistently, as opposed to the way that the Russians have gone about this. So they've been attacking the engines. You know what I mean? They've been going after the cargo hulls. They've been trying to disable the ships and not necessarily trying to, kill everybody on board or put these things to the bottom of the sea. As long as they can disable them, as long as they can no longer be used by the Russians, they're satisfied with that, right? So again, not making it so they have to, make it so none of these people on the ships come back or make it back. Just enough to disable the war effort is what they're trying to do, what they're trying to obtain here or achieve as far as these goals are concerned.
I mean, that's the answer is I can only show you what I can see here, and these vessels are in bad shape. Okay, let me scrub through a little bit. You can see another hit, and you see more damage in the night.
So again, that's part of the 3 minute and 50 long video, 3 minute and 50 minute long video. 3 minute and 50 second long video. I was going to get that right eventually. That was put out, I believe, by Robert Brovdi or the Ukrainian defense, showing again the effects and the video footage confirming some of these strikes as well.
I can only show you what I can show you. I don't know. I'm reading as much as I can, trying to understand. Ukrainian attack drones are striking additional Russian ships tonight, with at least 2 already hit, as seen in the SBS live scoreboard. I'll show you that in a moment. And then they say a little bit later, and Osen Technical is an awesome group. They do some great work. 2, and then a little while later, you see Ukrainian attack drones have reportedly hit another 14 Russian vessels in the Black Sea overnight. That would bring the total up to 50, and they revised it back to 12. Again, he's just looking at the scoreboard.
Easy.
Here's the scoreboard, real-time scoreboard, still at 12 right now. And if you want to see the scoreboard yourself, Here, I'll put the link right here so that you can just pause the video and you can grab it from there. Okay. And this is a better view of the scoreboard itself. Yeah. And it shows you real time what's being hit where. Okay, total obliteration continues out on the Azov Sea at this hour as Ukraine's unmanned system forces now destroying Russian ships at a rate of 1 every hour so far today.
1 every hour is insane. Total obliteration continues on the Sea of Azov. Unmanned systems forces now destroying Russian ships at a rate of one every hour or so far today. With the 4-day total around 48 different ships. We can assume this campaign is about to expand, as Jay and Kiev reports.
With 4 daily total, with a 4-day daily total already around 48 ships. Yep, that's what's been going on. So the day's young, it's not even noon, and already 12 more. I don't know what else is going to happen today, but I'll keep you posted on what happens later on or tomorrow. Drone attacks on Russia.
Even more coming out here. And I continue to impress upon you the amount of targets that they're able to strike on a nightly basis. We continue to talk about the vessels. We continue to talk about the tankers. We continue to talk about the refineries. We continue to talk about the resupply efforts, whether it be, in the rear, on the fronts, in the occupied territories, or again in Crimea, wherever it might be. They're going after a ton of different things every single night. This talks about drone attacks on Russia last night. Very preliminary information. Likely there's more. It says a fire at Taganrog. The port there looks like the port terminal of Kurganeftur product is burning. The company's transships petroleum products and loads them onto seagoing vessels. A fire at the Ilsky oil refinery in Krasnodar of Russia. It's one of the largest refineries in south of Russia and can process about 6.6 million tons of oil per year. An Azov optical and mechanical plant in the Rostov region of Russia was also hit. It produces optoelectronic radar and high precision systems for military equipment. The local oil depot has also been attacked. Moscow and St. Petersburg airport shut down due to drone attacks as well from last night, and it just goes on and on and on and on here.
Prague port. There was
again. I'll let him go on to the next one.
Region is on fire, and you can see some of this here. That's not nothing. It's the oil terminal that's being hit. Russia's oil facilities at the port of Taganrog are burning after this morning's early strikes, despite valuable infrastructure being retrofitted with drone-proof safety netting. Facilities burn nonetheless. So the safety netting isn't.
You can see that in that first still shot there. You can see that it looks to be I don't know if that's hot or soft canopies around the oil storage facility tanks there, but clearly did not have the desired effect. As you can see, the fire and the smoke going in the background.
Really doing a whole lot. They did more in Moscow, and I'll show you that. The Azov optical mechanical plant in the Rostov region, sanctioned Russian defense industry site, is still continuing to burn into the day. The facility produces electronics, optics, thermal imaging systems, seeker components used in precision weapons, missiles, anti-tank systems, and military vehicles. So this seems like a very good strike as well for the Ukrainians. And here is what it looks like as somebody's driving past it. Or, well, maybe not driving past it. Maybe others are going to turn around and they're going to turn too. But that's what the plant looks like right now. Okay, so
I just don't know how much more of this has to be seen before Vladimir Putin acknowledges the crisis. Like we just played the other day, the NFKRZ video, Rome and everybody's favorite neighborhood Russian, talking about the recent Vladimir Putin interview where he was talking about how everything's under control and there's no real fuel crisis. And I don't know what everybody's complaining about and everything's tip-top shape. We got reserves and everything's under control. Meanwhile, you continue to see fires burning like this throughout occupied territories and all over Russia itself. I mean, this is no little friggin' fire here, right? I mean, how many of these
what it looks like if somebody's driving past it,
as far as different oil refineries that are being hit to this extent? I mean, it's at some point it's got to come to a head. At some point they're going to have to recognize the severity of the situation and how much the citizens are being impacted by this. But a dictatorship, an autocratic leadership is not the first to kind of recognize the plight of its people or care about the plight of its people. So I'm sure it's going to get a lot worse for the Russian citizens before anything is done to mitigate this or even acknowledge it. I mean, look at that fire, though. You know what I mean? I mean, that's clearly a substantial fire and a substantial issue as you continue to see that in different portions in and around Russia as well. But let's see what else he's got. You think there's more strikes to detail. Moscow now beginning to resemble a city under siege as air defenses are popping up everywhere, being brought from all across the country to protect Putin's last holdout, says the Gargoyles' last stand there. So you can see, as I believe the Panzer systems are being brought in here from other regions in Russia, again, taking away from other places that need to be protected and bringing them into places like Moscow and St. Petersburg. So let's see what he's got from this one.
Brought from across the country to protect Putin. Look at this. Look at what they're putting on a bridge here or this, right? Now, if I was a drone, I would think maybe I want to go after this. Not, I mean, if I spotted that and I could, surreptitiously slip up toward it. After the recent fireworks at Moscow's oil refinery, officials in Kapotnia decided not to take any chances. Several Panzer S-1 air defense systems have been redeployed to the area, and one of them has even been wrapped in anti-drone net. Monitoring channels suggest the system may have been pulled straight from the front line. Think about that.
That's fucking insane. That would be fucking absolutely insane. Imagine taking away from the protection of your frontline troops to stick it on a bridge in Moscow so you can show that the people in your city that you're doing something to try to protect them, only really leading them to believe that there's going to be more attacks incoming. Why else would you go and steal Panzer systems from other parts of the country or parts of the front to bring them into Moscow unless you were expecting more and more heavy attacks? So again, they're trying to do that to quell the chaos and to quell like the scare that the Moscovites are feeling, and all it's doing is got to be leading to more of it. You know what I mean? If you start seeing these different air defense systems pop up, the one thing that you're expecting is attacks. not you're going to be like, oh, I feel so much safer now that Panzer is sitting on that fucking bridge. You know what I mean? That's just not really what you'd, what would be going through your head.
Think about that for a second. Pulled from the front line so that you can protect the oil depot instead of the army. Like that. Okay. So there's a reason that they're doing that though, right? The refinery in Moscow, Russia, burning once again. So you can see that. So if I have my facts straight, if this is the refinery in Moscow, this would have been where the lid got blown off. Remember?
Correct.
Okay. So
somebody, and again, I don't know what the information is to come from that. Rocket and drone security in Moscow and Kaluga regions, also drone security in the Smolensk, Tula, Bryansk, and Kursk regions. It says, meanwhile, the Moscow oil refinery in Kapotnia 1-3, and the oil refinery in Nizhikhamansk in Tatarstan caught on fire on their own. So again, I don't think this was even necessarily from a Ukrainian drone or missile attack. I think this is either from their own incompetency or something else happening in the Moscow oil refinery, which is why you're seeing that fire on the in that first square, as you can see. But again, just another reason for the Moscovites to freak out that it doesn't even necessarily need to be hit by the Ukrainians for it to spontaneously combust at this point. Just goes up into flames on its own.
Again, rocket and drone security in the Moscow and Kaluga regions. Also drone security in Smolensk, Tula, Bryansk, Kursk regions. Meanwhile, Moscow oil refinery and the oil refinery in Nizhnekamsk, Tatarstan caught on fire on their own, apparently. Well, I mean, that's what will be reported at least. Ukrainian attack drones struck the Russian port of Azov this morning, hitting an oil and fuel terminal, setting it ablaze. And
again, these are just endless reports. I mean, this is a 16-minute, almost 17-minute report from the professor here, just detailing endless Ukrainian strikes. It says, according to United Nations, at least 265 civilians were killed and 1,816 injured in Russian attacks in June alone. Following strikes on Kyiv, July 2nd and 6th, the death toll rose by at least another 50 people. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, at least 16,402 civilians, including 802 children, have been killed in Ukraine. Another 428 people have been injured. Again, just talking about the continued and ongoing attacks by Russia into places like Kyiv and elsewhere. Here's some more about the updates over the last 24 hours of the Russian losses. Again, 1.416 million personnel that have been eliminated from the battlefield, 1,416,280 to be exact, plus another 1,460 in the last 24 hours. We've taken out another tank. We've taken out another 6 armored fighting vehicles, another 52 artillery systems, which continues to boggle my mind as far as how many artillery systems they continue to take out. Another MLRS, which is a multiple launch rocket system, which are highly expensive. Air defense systems, another 2, another almost 2,000 drones, another 8 unmanned ground vehicles, and another 339 vehicle and fuel tanks, showing you the persistence and consistency they have at going after the resupply vehicles, making it increasingly more difficult for the people on the front to get the equipment that they need to fight this war. Let's see, Russia's war against Ukraine. It says engagements above average and the highest casualties in over a month. I think I went over this same exact post yesterday on the show. So I think he's also got another video, if I'm not mistaken, going over what we talked about last time. On the last video about that Russian blogger from Arthur's video. Let's see. I think he might be more accurately talking about what he's bringing up here. Let me throw this on the screen. We can just go over this for the last few minutes before I get you guys out of here. This is talking about Anton Garashenko's post, which we went over a little bit of in the Artur Rehi video. This is, again, Russian Z blogger, Goldman here, finished his morning hunt for gasoline and has some updates. He says the situation is completely fucked. The economy is flying into the abyss. Only the strong are respected. Look at yourselves. Who the fuck is there to respect? There are no statesmen left, just managers who handle the money. We're fucked. Soon there won't be any money left. So this is kind of the second half of the video that we started with Arthur Rehi, and then Professor goes on to talk about what this means and how crazy it is to see that these people now speaking openly and freely about the disastrous economy and the disastrous effects of these Ukrainian strikes. So again, just a couple minutes of this, and then I may get you guys out of here a couple minutes early. Appreciate you very, very much. Next show, we're going to do our Q&A. We're going to try to fit that in. I know we've had some late breaking news and a lot of things to cover in the recent show, so I didn't have time to kind of fit that in. I want to make sure that you guys are staying up to speed and keeping up to date with all of the stuff that we need to report on here. So let's see if we can go through a couple more minutes of this. And I promise one of the upcoming shows, you guys have been fantastic in donating to the chat and getting us to our different goals that we have. Should continue to do those goals. Seems to be a good boost for the chat. So much appreciated to everybody gifting on Venmo, which is just up in the corner. Buck or two is all we ask for. Really goes a long way in helping this channel. If you kick in, everybody would kick in a buck or two. Again, if you think we're deserving of more than that, I'm not going to stand in your way, but a buck or two is more than enough to show your support and generosity towards this show. So much appreciated. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to the chat. Slava Ukraini, Heroyam Slava. And just a little bit more about these Russian Z bloggers slowly starting to come into reality at how disastrous this war is becoming for them.
It's Friday, July 10th. I'm going to show you 4 videos where you're going to see a little insight into the Russian mind. We're going to start with Goldman, and what I want you to look for is the imperial mindset. That is the mindset of empire that the Russians just keep having here, and you'll see it in each of these videos. Now, we're going to start with Goldman. Goldman finished his morning hunt for gasoline and has some updates on Russia's economy. Says only the strong are respected. There are no statesmen left, just managers who handle the money. That's what Goldman's saying here. So let's look at this. We're going to look at his video and see what he has to say. Again, he has a bit of a potty mouth, so I apologize for that. He says the hunt for gasoline is over. Well, for today, he's already filled up a couple of different places, which is radically inefficient.
Starting off the video that way, right? I mean, just starting off the video shows exactly what's forefront on the mind of the Russians nowadays is the hunt for gasoline, is the hunt for petrol. Right, that's the first thing that they need to think about, so they can again get around, get in their vehicles, get around wherever they need to get around, get to and fro from work, whatever it may be. Like, you can't do much without petrol. You can't do much without gasoline. Especially when you live in a place as big and as widespread as Russia is. It tends to make it a lot more difficult here. So the very first thing that these Russian Z bloggers are now talking about is the hunt for gasoline. And of course, he's saying it facetiously, but also, the first thing that he mentions, gives it real credence.
Hunt for gasoline's over. Honestly, this morning's BS has blanking exhausted me. 20 liters each, sometimes around 30. So that means he had to go from one gas station and get 20 liters and then to another and get 30. And then
so again, showing you the limits that they have to deal with, right? Even if they do have petrol at some of these gas stations, you're only allowed so many liters per time, per stop at that gas station. So you're going to have to go get 20 from somewhere, 30 from another gas station. And who knows how much gas and petrol you're wasting just driving around to all these places. Again, Russia's a big fucking place. You know what I mean? So You never know who and what gas station has the fuel, how many you'll have to try that eventually fail as well. So again, just showing you the situation going on here that's becoming ever increasingly more widespread.
To another and get another 20 in order to fill up. Meanwhile, those guys over there are laughing. Everything's just great for them. The economy is growing. But the fact that here our retail chains are shutting down, 60 to 80 stores already closed, nobody gives a blank. In reality, the situation is really difficult. It's just a total blank show. The economy is...
In reality, the situation in Russia is difficult. It's a total shit show, right? So again, if you're wondering how the life experience is going on over there as this war enters its 5th year, look no further than these Russian Z-bloggers and all of the other videos that we've played on this channel. People crying their fucking eyes out, people getting punched in the face, people literally standing in front of fuel bowsers because they have no fuel, camping out in tents. Like, again, does not paint a picture of the victorious military. You know what I'm saying?
Actually plunging into the abyss, no matter what anyone says. It's pretty impressive that he's willing to say that, because that's not something that most people are willing to say. So
I think it's 3 3/4, if I'm not mistaken, Steven. I think it's like 3.75 by the last time I checked. I could be off on that, so don't take that to heart. But I think it's somewhere around there, because we were trying to do the conversions as to what the price meant as far as the the Russian price per liter and how that was what the equivalent was here in the United States for gas. So I think it's somewhere in that area. If somebody in the chat knows more specifically, let me know in the chat. But I think you're just about correct as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, but it's becoming more and more. In the last few months, I've seen it again and again from Russians where they used to say, everything's just fine. It's going according to plan.
Jim says he could call the ambulance, but there's no gas for it. But that's not true, because there would be gas for the ambulance, because the ambulances in the government vehicles seem to be first in line for their petrol. So unfortunately, it looks like, well, again, who knows how many of them are actually getting it. So you could actually be right there, Jim, but spot on as far as that's concerned. Much appreciated.
The special military operation is going strictly in accordance with schedule, according to the plan. Yeah,
I did see, Jay, I did see somewhere, and I forget when this video was and how much that's changed since then, but I think it was like $8 to $10 per gallon if you were doing the equivalent based upon whatever gas station at that moment in time was charging for its gas. I think it was somewhere hovering between $8 and $10 per gallon if you're doing, again, the equivalent here in the United States. So you're absolutely right that it's definitely higher, which is crazy to think, right? I mean, this is like talking about how gas is expensive in Texas, or gas is expensive in Oklahoma, or any state that's known to have, oil or oil refineries or gas stations or, gas infrastructure where they produce and get gas from. Like, it shouldn't be expensive in those areas considering their proximity to the plants. But again, Russia is just one big fucking gas station. I forget who said it now. I'm blanking on it, but they called Russia basically a gas station posing as a country. Right? I'm sure you guys can let me know in the chat. It's somebody prominent, and I know I should recall it, but I just don't at this moment in time. But they were spot on when they said it. Was it McCain? Was it McCain that said that? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat, because now I'm racking my brain. But whoever said it was spot on. But the fact that it's costing the amount that it's costing now, considering how much they produce, how many fucking oil refineries they have, just goes to show you how much damage is being done and how much this crisis has spread. Like, they should be on the very low end, considering how much production of oil that they're responsible for. You know what I'm saying?
Say that, but not so much anymore. Okay, let's keep going with Goldman. I'll translate Zyuganov's words for you. He says, when he said that everything needs to be taken from everyone, a huge critical mass has built up among people, critical for them. People aren't investing anymore. They took loans with interest and so on. So if they don't want to seize those deposits, as they claim, then most likely in the fall, now, again, they're talking about the fall, most likely in the fall.
So yeah, Jay giving us some more information. It's about $3.60 a gallon in Russia. Our average is a bit less in the United States. And I'm sure, like I said, it varies a lot. But, going by averages, I mean, again, even that is substantial for people that have access or should have access to that much fuel. You know what I'm saying?
just zero everything out anyway. So another video, you'll see them talking about what's going to happen in the fall.
I'm curious what the other videos he plays is as well. What was this one?
Let's listen to this. So the question, there's
also this well-known thesis that people get used to everything. See, a person is such a bastard that they adapt to anything. I'll quote the classic: temporary difficulties. It'll sort out. It'll sort itself out somehow. They'll fix the logistics.
Temporary difficulties. It'll sort itself out somehow. They'll fix the logistics. Start producing Euro 2 and Euro 3 fuel, and everything will be fine, right? Yeah, everything's just going according to plan.
Again, that seems to be the sentiment put out by not only the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin, but obviously his underlings and what he wants to get across as far as the sentiment is concerned, that everybody's okay. No, don't freak out, don't panic. Everything's under control. Let's see what this last one was.
They're asking, why are the Russians not loved anywhere? Where are they supposed to go if nobody loves them? Go back to your own country. Take your things from other countries, pack your suitcases, and go back. Let's go back again. And go back to your own country. Yeah, that's the right answer. Go back to your own country. Take your things from your pack your suitcases and go back to your own country. Now then she's going to go on to a rant, and she starts here. I'm going to skip forward here, where she's talking about how Russians will just put this stuff out about, we're going to do this to you and we're going to do that to you, and they're telling us this, and she says this: nobody asked whether you approve or not. Nobody asked whether I should host NATO or not, whether I should join the European Union or not. Now, I don't believe she's Ukrainian. She might be, but she's talking about Armenia and other countries that Russia just keeps putting under their.
It says, when you understand, when there are thousands of posts like these directed at all Soviet countries and only the post-Soviet ones, how are people supposed to treat them differently? So again, I'm not sure what the backstory is as far as that is concerned, but we'll see. I'm kind of out of time anyway on today's show. I appreciate you guys sticking with us as always. I can't thank you enough for doing and sharing the show and doing all the things that are necessary to keep this show going. The liking, the sharing, the subscribing, the donating, the contributing, the generosity, the appreciation, all the things, the kind words, everybody trying to get involved and see how they could help with the upcoming trip. Everybody hitting that, that notification bell so you can be the first people on there to get all of the insights and the videos that I post and all the shorts and everything else, especially coming from the upcoming trip, is fantastic. And I just can't thank you guys enough. So what do you say we get into thanking some people here? Thank everybody that was kind enough to send over a Venmo, utilize that little QR code up in the corner. A lot of people always do, and I can't thank you guys enough. Again, a buck or two goes a long, long way in helping these channels. So let's see who we get to thank today. Bry Guy, look at you guy on the list all the time. Can't thank you enough. Brian H., much appreciated. The $10 on Venmo says, adult beverage or anything needed. Slava Ukraine, too hot for any work today, so inside watching YouTube. Good man, Bry. Smart decision, my friend. Smart decision. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for contributing, as always. Thank you so much to Allison M. for the $25 that she sent on Venmo towards the trip. She says, be safe, Bry. Thank you so much, Allison. Much appreciated, and I will be as safe as humanly possible, I assure you. Thank you so much to Suzanne as well. M2M in the chat, much appreciated. Have a safe journey. Thanks for all you do. Thank you so much for that substantial $50 contribution on Venmo. Very, very nice of you. Can't thank you guys enough. And then Brian from the other day, thank you to Marty as well. Safe travels, new nickname, Mr. Marty. Thank you so much, Marty, for your $60 contribution as well on Venmo. Very, very nice of you guys to support this mission, support this trip. Nancy, thank you so much. Thank you to Jeff and Roxanne in the chat. Damon C in the chat as well. Yakov, my main man, I hope you're doing well. I heard you got some not so great news and gone through some not so great things recently. So if there's anything we can do for you in the chat, Yakov, just let us know. But we're sending you some good vibes, sending you some healing vibes. And again, thank you for everything you do for this chat. It is very much appreciated. Thank you to Mike Z, Jenny Faye, and Corey as well. Everything and everybody that contributes to this this community is just very much appreciated, very much appreciated. So let's see who is starting off today on YouTube. Shout out to Patrick on YouTube. Thank you so much for being a member for 27 months. Let's fucking go. Enjoying what you do since 2024. No financial backing giving, and the mods are wicked awesome too. Let's fucking go. Much appreciated, Patrick. It's unbelievable to see how long people have been watching this channel. Again, the little channel that could, the little podcast that could, still trying to break into the mainstream here. But, we already have some OGs in the audience, really have some valued members of our community that I love to shout out and love seeing here every single day. Patrick, you're definitely one of them. Very much appreciated. Congratulations on 27 months being a member here. Thank you, Jackie, as well, for being a member for 8 months. Much appreciated. Love seeing you guys sticking around. Love seeing you guys continue to come back to the show and contributing as well. So, Jackie, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you to Dame Dog. Get well soon. Be nice to the nurses, Yakov. Good instructions. And I will second that sentiment as well, Yakov. Get well, my friend. Hopefully everything goes as smoothly and quickly as humanly possible, and you're right back to 100%. But we're wishing you well, sending you some good vibes. Same thing with John McDonough. Much appreciated for you being here. Thank you for the $12 contribution, my friend. He says, yes, Brian, I know what you mean. Thank you so much, John, for the confirmation and the $12 contribution. Love seeing you here, my friend. Always love having this chat here. This community is one of the best here on social media. I call it the best, but again, I'm biased. You guys let me know what you guys think. Thank you to David Weiss. Thank you for the $2 contribution, my friend. Always love seeing you here. Thank you for the support for the channel as well. Thank you to Rox for the 28 months of being a member. Oh, me too. Love y'all. Right back at you, Rox. Thank you for everything. Hope Mom's doing well. Hope everybody's doing well here in the chat. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Thank you for everybody. Oh, Tiff, let's go. Much appreciated. 2 years, Tiff. You fucking unbelievable. Let's go. We can't wait to have you feeling better, Yakov. And again, I will second that as well. Much appreciated, everybody. I'll see you on the Sunday show. Make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you guys know anybody that would, like to follow along on the upcoming journey that support Ukraine, there he is. I knew he wasn't far behind. Let's go. Thank you, Yakov. Remember, for 18 months, keep rocking Boston, Brian, and the best community. Well, again, we're worried about you, my friend. We're worried about you and your back, and just get well. Just get well so we can have you around. All right, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you to everybody. And again, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to be following along on all of the news and all of the live streams, and especially on our upcoming mission. A great way for you to do that is subscribe and follow us along on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram, Substack, Blue Sky, everywhere that you could possibly follow us along, and we'll be posting content. That would be greatly appreciated. So thank you, guys. Thank you to Yakov. Thank you to the mods, everybody. You guys are the best. Stagmas, Karen, Jim, Jenny Faye. There you are. Let's go. Member for 21 months, listening and lurking. Love to Brian and everyone. Right back at you, Jenny Faye. Not only to you, but to Corey as well. Big salute to you guys for everything that you do, not only for the movement, but for this community as well. So much appreciated. Rock says, Mom's happy. My sister will be here tomorrow. Oh, fantastic. That's fantastic. So you may get a little rest. Is that what I'm hearing? You may get a little rest, and obviously great to have the family together. So I hope you guys have a wonderful time, Rocks. Please tell Mom and your sister I said hello. Let's get out of here, and I'll let you guys have and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you to Frank. Thank you to Damon. Much appreciated, Jim. Thank you to Luck Dragon and everybody else in the chat today. I'll let you guys go. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out. Whose birthday? Wait, time out. Whose birthday is it? I saw somebody in the chat just say it was somebody's birthday. Somebody said happy birthday. Bob, whose birthday? Your birthday? Whose birthday? I'm dying to know. Happy birthday, everybody whose birthday it is. That way I don't miss anybody. That way I'm not missing anybody. But thank you so much for being here. Anybody that takes the time out of your day. No, it means I could do more foosball shit. Hey, do you find that relaxing? I'm sure. I know that's kind of like an outlet for you. I'm sure that's kind of an outlet for you at some point. You know what I mean? But no, I'm glad you have some company. I'm glad your mom has some company as well. Fantastic to hear. And again, I'll see you guys Sunday. Hit that like button on the way out. Stay loud, stay proud, stay aggressive. Get the fuck out of your seats and into the streets. We're just not pissed off enough in this country. And once again, keep your head on the swivel. Make sure you're staying safe out there. My name is Boston Brian. This has been the Blunt Politics Podcast. And I really do appreciate you guys for giving me the opportunity to bring you guys the news, the insights, my opinions, taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit here, to take the time out to be with the chat and stuff. It really, really means the world. So again, at all times when these videos are posted, you can utilize that Venmo if you think we're worthy of a buck or two in contribution. That would be fantastic and greatly appreciated. Help us get through the algorithm by liking, sharing, subscribing, all the great stuff. And I'll see you guys Sunday. All right. Appreciate you guys. Salute.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Shovel Dead. Good to see you. 7-5, brother. 7-5. Thank you, Luck Dragon. Thank you, Karen, Olga. Great to see you, SFL. Thank you so much for everything. Tim, RP Marston, what's going on? Good to see you. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend. Alvin, that goes for you as well. Jenny Faye, good luck tonight if you get online. Thank you again to everybody who supports this community. John, Pop, as always, thank you, brother. Jim, thanks so much. 9 Inch Nails, let's go. Appreciate you. What's up, Jack? Good to see you. Tom, good to see you, brother. I'm so glad I finally got to watch TV and watch Lunch Ball again. Great to have you here, Tom. As always, brother. Hope you're well. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you to Abby. Much appreciated, Abby. Thank you to Bob. Shift to Neutral. MM Note, let's go. Thank you.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
The Islamic Republic of Japan. JC, POC. We're inviting Americans from all across the country to come. And God bless the United States.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Here's a thought. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls.
To officially name the undisputed. When did this come out?
Where you going? Nowhere.
It feels so lovely to be here tonight. What a beautiful love. Give yourselves a round of applause. You're so lovely. Everyone's so lovely.
I'm just dandy. I got a bowl of chocolate pudding in my underpants.
This guy's been drunk all day.
Brian, yeah, you're drunk. You're drunk.
I said mud. I said crud. You fall into some crud or something?
Bad news, bad news. Even when it's good news, it's bad news.
The population in Thailand is 63 million people. It is twice the size of Wyoming. Its chief exports are textiles, footwear, and rice. Each year, approximately 13,000 people are killed in car accidents in Thailand.
You referred to my hands if they're small.
Вітаю, Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
What uranium is, right? This thing called nuclear weapons and other things, like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
He's calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me, he's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2".
He referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. For the rest of my life, I have the curse that I have little hands. Little hands. What in the hell was that all about?
Hey, you got a little chubby going there.
Get off my plane.
Call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Like we always do about this time.
I ain't falling for no banana in my tail pipe.
My superpower is being honest. I will eat my neighbors. eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the
Вітаю,
people.
Бостон Брайан. Мій позивний танцор. Я представник 72-ї бригади. Дякую тобі і твоїм підписникам за цей донат, за цю чудову машину, яка буде нас возити усіх на позиції, захищати Україну і наближати перемогу. Разом усі до перемоги. Дякую.
Oh, get those lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. The big, fat, sloppy